It's time to live the vampire life, with all the good stuff that comes along with being a blood-sucking beast. Wielding magic to take on epic bosses, avoiding sunlight and holy radiation, and imprisoning humans so that you can tap them for their delicious blood. You know, all that good stuff. Also, I'm gonna build a glorious castle. V-Rising 1.0 is out now, and I've had my eye on this game for ages, so I was very excited when Stunlock Studios sponsored this 100-night video. All they asked me to tell you is this: V-Rising 1.0 is available on Steam now, and it'll be coming out on PS5 later this year too. Check out my links below. Also, there's a Castlevania crossover event live right now. Simon Belmont has invaded the world of V-Rising. I actually saw him in my playthrough and he nearly ripped my head off. Anyway, welcome to 100 Nights of V-Rising.
We'll go normal. Look at that bat. Look at that bat flap.
Then followed a cinematic explaining that vampires once dominated the lands until the humans rose up and drove them into obscurity for century upon century.
Burst forth, vampire. Looking crusty, man.
Until now,
Ooh.
our hunt begins again.
Yes. Blood. We got a character creator, man. That's crazy. Yeah, we want to be as pale as possible. Or a big Joker smile. Yeah, that's the one. Oh, to match the Joker vibe, purple eyes, I think. This messy business. Look at it wobble. Look at it jiggle. That's the good stuff. I think we go green. That's the Joker's other color, right? Here he goes. Bianca. Nah, man. The name's Floydson. Press space to wake up. Awaken.
I rise.
Woo! And so began night 1, in a stinky crypt somewhere. I acquainted myself with the controls. I had a fancy dash on an 8-second cooldown, a vicious vampire claw, and these pots were at my mercy. I performed a majestic dive and continued terrorizing any pot foolish enough to show its face, and I worked out I could use blood mend, consuming blood to restore health. I could also lean my head back to expose the juicy veins in my neck. Very creepy.
Alright, we emerge forth. It's night time, so I'm safe from the vicious sun.
I encountered my first enemy, a skelly boy. It dropped some bones for me, as did this handsome fella.
I can chop down a tree with my vicious fingers.
My first quest had been to collect 30 bones, and those two skeletons had generously donated what I needed, so I claimed my first reward. Some crafting recipes. I made the bone sword, but couldn't yet afford to make the ring. Turns out you can assault the natural environment to get plant fiber and stone too, and it didn't take long to pile up quite a lot of stuff. The sword was of course a good choice for combat too.
Screw you, rat. Oh, wait, did I just pick up the rat? What the heck?
These rodents can be sucked dry if you're ever in need of a blood infusion, and the animation for eating them is a little over the top. I crafted the bone ring, which grants 5.3 spell power, and I carried on to complete my next quest to kill a couple more enemies with my sword. This unlocked a new spell slot.
Shadow Bolt. Woo. Okay, 7-second cooldown on that. Look at this big boy. He's got a big thing stuck through him.
Shadow Bolt did some juicy damage.
Oof.
And after hitting 2 nerds with it, I unlocked another spell slot. I was granted the Bloodright spell, which can be used to counter incoming attacks. And with that, I was a big fan of the combat in this game already. I strode forth to the graveyard exit and made my way to Farbane Woods. That was the completion of yet another quest, and I earned myself the ability to craft Bone Guard armor. It was nice to cover up my extremely pasty shoulders. I needed some rugged hide to make the gloves and boots, and across this majestic bridge I saw a source for that exact material, in the form of a deer and a wolf. As I was crafting my gloves and boots, the sun rose.
Do I need to stay in the shade now, I guess? Oh gosh.
I crafted bone axes and a bone mace. The axes are more efficient at collecting wood, and the mace is more efficient at collecting stone. But they are also simply alternative weapon options depending on your preferred playstyle.
Look how huge this mace is, bro.
My next quest was to collect a bunch of wood and stone, and
kill living beings to drain their blood essence. Gotcha.
I immediately learned that 300 wood or stone isn't really a lot in this game, as I collected that in under a minute. And just outside the graveyard I found this waygate, which I was unable to use because apparently carrying certain items means you can't teleport.
What happens if I walk out in the sunlight here? I'm literally just burnt. Wait.
In case you aren't aware, the mythology of vampires dictates that they are vulnerable to sunlight. It basically kills them. That is certainly the case in this game. As such, traveling during the day is all about sticking to the shadows. I went on the prowl for living things, because these dropped blood essence when killed, and when I got this deer to low health, I realized I could press F to feed.
Whoa, what the heck?
This filled up my blood pool, the big orb of blood at the bottom there, and
now I've got a creature blood type with a 1% blood quality. Wait, what?
different enemies have different blood types and different blood quality. And as you can see, the creature blood type gives some useful buffs. However, that deer only had 1% blood quality, so I was getting the bare minimum benefit from this. As night 2 began, I found some blood roses, a rock I couldn't yet mine, and some snowflowers. I took on a few wolves, and I found using my blood right counter rather satisfying. I found another fancy rock I couldn't yet mine, and I spotted my first human enemies in the distance, some level 16 bandits. This inspired me to work out my gear score, which was now at 10, and so waking up this level 18 bear may not have been a great idea. But with some evasive movement and timely spell usage, it actually wasn't too tough, and so I earned my 50th blood essence, completing the quest. I had a peek at the world map to spy out some likely spots for a base. I pulled up the build menu and discovered I had what I needed to make the castle heart already, and I got excited.
I get to build my own castle?
I took on some nerds at a little bandit camp nearby,
I'm eating the dude.
and I fed on a second dude too, because honestly, I was confused as to how blood quality worked at this point. I thought that as you fed on more enemies, the blood quality would increase, but in reality, you just need to find one enemy with high quality blood, feed on them, and then you're sorted. Anyway, I now had the rogue blood type, which gives critical strike and movement improvements.
Oh, what is that thing?
That thing is so many levels higher than me that it was just showing a skull, so I adopted a hit and run strategy, but I'd soon run too far, and it de-aggroed and left me be. I wandered up to this high ground because I thought I might make my castle here.
Come here, Moose. This Moose is tanky.
After defeating the raid boss Moose, I began clearing away some crap so that I could start building.
Oh, dude, what is that thing though? Look at that thing. Why are you suggesting I make a base here when it's got a... Oh. Ah!
That was my cue to flee, and after chasing another moose for a bit, I fought my way towards another likely spot, and I ended up taking on one of these forest dweller spiders. And I was still feeding on everyone willy-nilly because I had no idea what I was doing. It was great stuff. I used Bloodmen to top up my health, and I headed up to check this spot, and while poking about, I somehow failed to realize I was in the sunlight.
Oh, dude, what the hell? Why did it just get so sunny everywhere?
That's just called daytime, mate. I placed down my castle heart in a central spot and nearly got burnt to a crisp in the process. And this area was infested with a spider, but that felt more manageable than a corpse pile, so I took it on.
What the heck? What are you doing in there? You put him back in the egg.
This fight was a little dicey, especially when it put me in a cocoon of my own, spawning 3 little spiders to harass me, but I managed to flee, the spiderlings despawned, I got a little heal off, and finally the foe was vanquished. I fed on one of the dinguses that had been cocooned and learned about the perks of the warrior blood type. Honestly, all the blood types seemed pretty useful, so I wasn't too fussed, and I then had a proper look at my castle heart. I placed some blood essence in.
Castle powered and fortified for 20 hours. I mean, that should keep me going, right?
I then had to place some floors and walls, so I had a good session clearing and collecting resources. I placed some rough floors down and some wooden palisades too. I did some more clearing, I expanded the floor even further. The wall grew too and a door went in, and soon...
Okay, I used up so much wood doing that.
I placed a wooden coffin, which acts as a respawn location, and I figured I'd better have a quick sleep to make it official.
I rise.
Mist brazier. Consumes bones to generate a dense mist that blocks out the sun?
I placed a storage chest down, and a dense mist caused by toasty bones sounds absolutely delicious, so give me one of them mist braziers. I whacked some bones in and let it burn, and my next unlock was basic crafting and refinement, but some resource restocking was in order, so I whacked some trees, and the sun soon rose.
I think this thing's giving a pretty decent radius of shade for me.
And I wasn't exactly sure where a smart place for a sawmill was, but I plonked one down here.
You can dismantle for 100% refund, so I don't need to be too worried.
This thing makes 1 plank plus 1 sawdust out of 20 wood. So I put all the wood I had on to be refined, collected a bunch more wood, and when I saw that only 4 planks had been produced during that time, I decided double sawmill was the way to go. The tricky thing about being a vampire lumberjack is that sometimes you chop down the trees providing you shade, resulting in sunburn. I made a vermin nest and began luring rats with bones and plant fiber.
So this just produces rats? What the heck, man? And it's green? Creepy green. It matches my hair. Yes.
I'd now made enough planks to make a simple workbench, so down one went.
Reinforced bone sword.
And there was some copper stuff I could craft too.
Moon is rising, so we'll turn this thing off.
With all the rugged hide I'd hoarded fighting wolves, I immediately upgraded the armor. And I reinforced my weapons with planks and stone too. I also made and upgraded a bone spear.
Yeah, these have a set bonus. If you wear 2 of them, you get 20 health. Physical power by 2 if you wear all 4. Here's a bunch of rats to collect. Let's just all hang out here.
Clearly the next resource I needed was copper, so I was delighted to see these coppery looking rocks right near my base. After destroying some more castle ruins to claim the stone, I was able to make my first furnace. But it was 20 copper ore for each bar, so I was only going to be able to make 7 copper bars for now. I discovered my improved mace could break this spiky rock, so I earned myself some gem dust and a couple of gems. But there was very little copper right next to my base, so it was time to venture forth once more in search of copper.
Lydia the Chaos Archer. What?
What are the odds of this?
Okay, she seems hard. Run! Don't chase me, Lydia.
I fought some armored skellies instead, and I tested out my new spear on this giant crow. And I think I was a little out of my league when these level 27 skeleton priests summon an army of minions to chase me off.
Shooting stuff at me? Ah! Oh! Run!
I next wandered into this wolf den.
Oh, is that a big bad wolf? Alpha the White Wolf. He's level 16 though. I think I can do that.
Finally, an evenly matched opponent. As you can see under Alpha's health bar there, the White Wolf has V blood. Very important and very delicious blood.
Health orb. Oh, I get health orbs because it's like a boss fight, I guess?
I opted to use the spear because spears deal bonus damage to creatures. And I took out the wolf without too much trouble.
Hold to extract blood. Woo!
Taste of knowledge.
New V blood unlocked. Use the vampire's power wheel to shapeshift. What?
My form is fluid.
Oh my gosh.
Wolf form runs 60% faster, so this was wonderful news.
This is like my mount. This is my travel form. Sick.
I finally found more copper, and I got into a rather drawn out battle with another spider, where my strategy was this.
Run around in circles like an idiot. It's a big strat.
And early on night 5, I had the pleasure of feeding on a most delicious 71% blood quality bear, yielding some juicy stats. The problem was, the next time I needed more blood, I'd have to feed on something else, which would cause me to lose these stats. But for now, it was gonna serve me well. By the way, humans were dropping useful things like coarse thread, paper, and copper coins, so I was more than happy to clean out this bandit camp I stumbled upon. When I spotted these merchants on the map, I figured it was worth a visit.
Shady gem dealer. Shady goods dealer.
These shady individuals wanted copper coins in exchange for their goods, and I only had a mere 16, so I gave it a miss for now and instead had a good sesh whacking bandits and copper with my mace. I didn't really care which, as long as the mace made a good chunky sound, I was happy. I soon stumbled upon a large bandit camp, at which I faced off against my first mugger bandit. He was a bit heftier, and he used this barrier move, and when I hit the barrier, I was stunned. Note to self, don't hit the barrier. I ventured deeper into the camp, and I was delighted to see I'd discovered a copper camp. Yes please. I of course cleaned up any delinquents and...
Alright, this bandit copper camp has got copper for days, man. Seems to me each copper rock has about 100, or exactly 100 maybe. A chesticle. Snowflower seed. Another chest. Ooh, merciless copper longbow. Ooh, yeah, fishbone.
With an inventory full of about 1,000 copper ore, plus a bunch of other crap, I ran home, doing my best not to get eaten.
That's chasing me! No, corpse pile, leave me alone.
I got the copper ore smelting, adding another furnace to the fray, and I realized the stones and trees around my base were actually respawning, which was handy because I needed more wood with which to expand my storage a little. I crafted and equipped a bloodbone ring.
Here we go, we got 20 gear level now.
And so I unlocked the ability to track V blood carriers like Alpha the White Wolf. I'd of course stumbled upon him already, but there were others I could track, and for defeating them I'd receive various rewards, including spell points and crafting workstations. When I tracked Big Rufus, aggressive red stuff appeared to point in his direction. The copper bars were beginning to come through, so I crafted a copper mace and axes, and I placed down a newly unlocked building option, a big old mirror.
Why would I want to customize my vampire? Look at him, he's beautiful. What a silly dingus.
When I strode forth to chop some more trees, I realized my copper weapons each had one weapon ability now. The axe's frenzy ability leapt me forward, dealing damage and increasing my attack speed for a bit. My mace's crushing blow ability did one of these ones.
Heck yeah.
My sword was soon crafted too, and it had a whirlwind ability. Very cool. I expanded my storage some more, and I finally crafted a copper spear. These 4 weapons cost me 64 copper bars total. That's 1,280 copper ore. The spear had a move called 1,000 Spears. very stabby. Each weapon also had a higher base damage than the previous tier, and the special abilities shared a cooldown, so you couldn't just switch between weapons and spam them. I found a sulfur rock over here, and my copper mace was up to the task of collecting some. And then it was time to track down some V-blood. And we're just gonna pretend that there's nothing weird about saying V-blood.
Stone Golem, what the hell? Where'd you come from? Dude. Ow!
Yeah, nah, better run away from this big bloke, I reckon. Oh wait, here I go for a big play using my counter spell.
Oh gosh. Get me in the... Why? I thought I had my counter up.
Yeah, nah, better run. I continued forward, guided by the streak of red, and I soon arrived at this logging camp.
Oh, is that him? There he is. Alright, give me that V-blood, Rufus.
The moon rose on night 7 as I entered the camp, which was handy because the sun is quite a nuisance during combat.
Tristan the Vampire Hunter. You've got V-blood.
Oh, you probably think you're something, but you are.
What level is that guy? What the hell?
I don't know what level he is, but my attacks did approximately 0 damage to him.
Oh, good gravy. Why, man? I just want Rufus, man. I don't want random high level Tristan. Get out of here, Tristan, you stinky butthead.
And so I fled the fury of Tristan the Vampire Hunter.
Alright, yeah, get out of here, Tristan. You stink.
Let's try the bandit logging camp again, shall we? Rufus had a big net, a big crossbow, and a big ginger beard. I chose to use the mace, unleashing some big slaps, and I did my best to avoid the various projectiles. Soon he whipped out some of these ones.
Oh gosh. Ah! Okay, he's not doing that much damage to me though. Oh, and I got some health orbs. Don't mind if I do.
And so the Rufus fight ended up being pretty straightforward, because even if I failed to dodge his attacks, his damage numbers weren't that punishing.
Give me that blood, Rufus. Look at that big sawmill. That's a huge sawmill. Look at that. Delicious blood. We can get simple furniture. Heck yes. Woodworking bench. Nice. And a blood spell point.
Here's the spell book, and as you can see there are 6 schools of magic in the game. I just received a tier 1 blood spell point, and since I already had 2 of the 3 tier 1 blood spells, I could only choose Blood Rage, which heals and applies a haste buff. I gave it a whirl, and the 25% attack speed buff felt pretty juicy. By the way, the big mace slap was my favorite move.
That move is huge, bro. Big slap with my mace. Okay, this game's pretty cool.
For context, here's how the map was looking. That blue bit there is my base. I tracked another V-blood carrier and marched onward, killing bandits as I went, and collecting stuff too, of course. I gave the spear's special ability a go on these spiders, and it seemed pretty good too, and I was eventually led to the bandit trapper camp. Guess who was waiting for me?
Oh dear. Tristan, what are you doing here, bro? Why are you everywhere, Tristan? Where did you come from? Whoa, what the hell is that? It's a bush. A man trap. Curse the sunlight.
By the way, Rufus had given me my first unsullied heart, to go along with the tainted hearts I'd been collecting. Charming stuff.
Yeah, fight the bush. Fight the bush. He owned the bush.
I then somehow ended up in an epic battle against this bomber and her Deadeye archer friend. And the bomber was 9 levels my superior, so this was kind of spicy. Though both their movesets were pretty easy to dodge, so I wasn't really at much risk of dying. It was a fun fight, as I enjoyed learning the shenanigans these 2 new enemies were capable of throwing at me. And then I finally tiptoed back to the trapper camp. If you look at my current blood type, it's got a big X and 0%. This is the useless frail blood type. I had it because I'd eaten a rat to top up my blood supply. I really should have fed on one of these enemies to get a better blood type, but to be honest, I was having trouble remembering to optimize my blood bonuses in the chaos of battle. As I healed up, my good friend Keely walked by the tent, so it was time for her to suffer violence.
Nice frost arrows, dude. That's sick. Missed me. Oh, there's a bear. Get involved, bear.
This fight devolved into madness when we ended up rumbling in the bear cage, but I was the decisive champion. Claiming the Frost Archer's blood earned me a Frost spell point, and some leatherworking goodies.
Gotta go for Errol next, right?
I picked up the spell Ice Nova, and immediately used it on these slumbering bears. And while Errol the Stonebreaker was indeed my next target, I paid a trip home first. I got stuff refining, I placed some lights around the place, and I made a research desk out of paper, coarse thread, and planks. And with that, I had pretty much ran out of room, so I went on a rather long rampage clearing. I ripped down the old walls and placed new walls 1 tile further out, drastically expanding the size of the area here. Existing builds can be moved with just a click of the mouse, so rearranging to make use of the space was easy.
Alright, cool. Whatever. That'll do. Now, what are we making?
I made a tannery and a woodworking bench. The woodworking bench turns planks into decorative materials, and the tannery began refining the 2000 plus rugged hide I'd hoarded into leather. And as usual, I decided to double up to speed up the process.
Look at it go, just magically. I love that.
I collected the random books I'd found so far and took them to the research table, where they helped me to learn how to make a merciless copper bow, a sun resistance brew, and simple carpets. I couldn't make the upgraded bow yet, but I was able to make a copper crossbow.
Okay, now we got a ranged option. That seems cool.
I had enough coarse thread to make the level 3 Night Stalker leggings, vest, and boots. I got low on blood, so I slammed a few rats into my face. That did the trick. And soon my 3 new items of clothing were ready, so I switched outfits, adding 19 points to my health, raising my gear score to 26, and making me look much more stylish and much less bony. I made a blood press, just because I didn't have one yet. You can use these to squeeze the blood out of hearts. Very delicious. And I headed out on another adventure. I tried to get in the habit of feeding on enemies with quality blood. I fought the Alpha Wolf again for some reason, making use of my new crossbow. And when I saw this little cave symbol on my minimap, I tried to figure out what it was.
I don't believe I can get up there. Until I can fly or something?
Do I sense the ability to morph into a bat in my future? I was enjoying the crossbow because being able to stay at range makes me feel safer considering my subhuman reaction speeds, and the area effect ability was pretty juicy. I fought my way into this bandit copper mine, but I wasn't here for the copper. I smelled V-blood nearby.
What is this purple business? Trippy shroom.
If you want this ore, you're going to have to get through me first.
Oh, I want your blood. Oh, nice. Smooth. That's sick.
Errol did indeed have a rather glorious chaotic shockwave move. I adopted a shoot and slide strategy, but it backfired, because old mate Errol wasn't keen on leaving his little patrol area, so he ran back and reset. When I went in for round 2, I made sure to stay down in this lower area here.
Let's hear that crunch!
Woo! Say, let's hear that crunch.
Sadly, Mr. Stonebreaker didn't get to hear much crunching because his moves were pretty easy to avoid. Claiming his blood earned me some new storage and lighting options, and
We got a chaos spell.
I chose to pick up Aftershock.
Yeah, man.
I then investigated the weird plant I'd picked up earlier.
Yeah, a trippy shroom. Might make you feel trippy, not recommended to eat. Well, that's just a challenge, right? Oh yeah, it's making the screen. Oh yeah, that is trippy. I'm so confused. What is going on? I'm glad that was only 45 seconds. It would have been a rough day if that lasted for an hour or something. Dude, what the hell? Where do all you nerds come from?
This abundance of nerds provided me with a great opportunity to whip out some very satisfying area damage. That's the good stuff.
Hold to unlock. Oh, so fancy.
This fancy chest had a jewel in it that can be attached to the spell Ward of the Damned to modify and improve it. Interesting. My next destination was the Bandit Armory, where my Frost Nova, Shockwave, and Rain of Bolts combo worked wonders.
Who's this? Villager. Here he is. He's got a little arena ready for me.
As you can see, Big Grayson was level 27, so this was more evenly matched than my fight against poor Errol. He littered these spiky traps everywhere, he swung his hefty mace, and I figured I might as well see what this random armor was all about.
Oh, this is how we get rid of these things.
This allowed me to create some breathing space, though he wasn't shy about lobbing even more spiky things all over the place. He did some big spinnies too.
Boom. That's a pretty cool fight.
Grayson's blood unlocked new crafting and building options, of course. Most interestingly, a new workshop floor type, as well as an illusion spell point. I picked up Spectral Wolves. I wandered into the Forgotten Cemetery, where I engaged in glorious combat with this level 35 undead assassin.
Flying skull. What? Oh, they just blow up on you.
I was looking for Goreswine the Ravager, and I think it's fair to assume someone named Goreswine would hang out in a cemetery. Alas, no Goreswine was forthcoming, and all I'd managed to do was spend half a night desecrating the dead. But I guess when you can't find one V-blood carrier, another falls into your lap. Because on the gallop home, I ran into an old friend. She had rather impressive chaos arrows, along with the ability to go invisible. She also did some big chaos vomits on the ground. The arrows are theoretically easy to avoid, but you have to keep in mind that I am a goose on the loose. Somewhere in there, an Alpha Wolf joined the fray, which was good for the vibes. And I don't know how I didn't die at the end here, but trading arrows with Lydia is definitely not the play, since hers are much more impressive and purple. I somehow survived on 1 health. Lydia, of course, also had lots of juicy rewards for me. The unlocks were coming in thick and fast, and I was on the hunt for more. I found a Goreswine. The sun rose mid-fight, but lucky for me, it's always gloomy in cemeteries. And I think there may have been just a few enemies chasing me during this fight. Once I got the Skelly priests down, all their summons disappeared, and soon it was just me and the swine. She She threw unholy magic at me willy-nilly. There was green stuff and skulls all over the place, but I weathered the storm and came out on top.
You dead.
The maggots will be so happy.
The maggots would be so happy, man. That's true. Well said.
I picked up Bone Explosion. It looks a little like this. And as you can see, if you kill an enemy while they have the Condemned debuff, they reanimate as a skeleton to fight for you.
Alright, well, I've killed all the level 27 nerds and one of the level 30s now. Nibbles the putrid rat.
And I finally returned home.
Grim Ranger boots. Give me that. Forge flooring. Give me that. Assortment of windows. Give me that.
There were a lot of things that I'd unlocked, so I was kind of overwhelmed, but the first thing I made was a Devourer.
Big licky. Big licky licky.
This thing salvages materials from items, so I put all my old equipment in there and let it chomp away. I next made a leatherworking station, and it had just one juicy crafting option for me.
Can make a leather bag. Yes.
I couldn't actually craft coarse thread at this point, so just as well I looted the 8 I needed from dead bandits.
7 more slots. Nice.
I could now craft whetstones, but to make them I needed stone dust, and stone dust is a byproduct of refining stone into stone bricks in a grinder, so I got some grinding happening. And I don't know why I didn't do this earlier, but my next quest was to upgrade my castle heart, and it cost a mere 12 copper ingots and 12 leather, and so my castle grew to level 2. This increased the number of floors I was able to place from 50 up to 140. The reward for this quest was rather juicy. Finally, I was able to make castle floors and walls.
Oh, we got a bunch of fancy walls now.
I was low on planks, so I had a lumberjack session and dropped thousands of wood into the sawmills. And I realized every section of castle wall was going to cost 10 stone bricks. My faithful grinder here had made 23 in about half a day, so after putting some whetstones onto craft using stone powder from the grinder plus ingots, I collected a bunch of stone and placed down grinder number 2. I used some workshop floors to place the floor for my first castle room. I deleted these shabby wooden walls and replaced them with outrageously intimidating walls. The gothic castle vibes did wonders for my inner vampire. Except I didn't have enough stone bricks to finish the room yet, so it was a little anticlimactic.
Just keep making whetstones. I feel like the whetstone's gonna be useful.
I made a third grinder, and I decided I liked this variety of workshop floor better, so I changed it, and I made the room a little bigger too, so the 3 grinders could fit. Fast forward a bit until I finally had enough bricks, and finally the room was finished.
Alright, I made a room. I made a room. Oh, look at that roof, dude. Holy crap.
As you can see, if you have floors fully enclosed by castle walls, a glorious roof appears. Wonderful stuff. And see these green ticks on the grinder? It now worked 25% faster because it was in a room with a roof, and its recipes were now 25% cheaper because it was in a room with workshop flooring. The same goes for the sawmills and the woodworking bench. I guess this is how the game encourages you to set up your castle with distinct rooms. I was a big fan. I collected all the random crude gems I'd found so far, and I threw them into a grinder because I needed gem dust. Yet another recent unlock was a bunch more storage options, so I placed a small material storage chest. It's twice as big as my old chests, but can only hold materials. The 20 gem dust I needed was ready, so it was time to build a waygate for my next quest. I encountered the same issue from right at the start of the game, where you can't teleport while carrying certain items.
So you can't be teleported with like any refined materials or like gems or stuff? So random.
But once I'd cleared all that crap from my bags, it was time to give it a whirl. And having one of these waygates smack bang in my base, that is rather convenient. And my V-Blood tracker thingo told me Clive the Firestarter was very far away to my west. So I took my castle waygate to this western waygate I'd found earlier. When this angry bush burst forth to bother me, I said, "You know what, bush? It's time to get pruned." And then it bit me in the face a few times. I was low on blood, so I indulged in some delicious bandit juice, and I soon pulled up outside the bandit sulfur quarry. There were lots of explosive crates in here, including the one that blew up this young lady Archer. And in recent fights, stacking my various area of effect abilities had proven quite effective. But this trio here was a bit higher level and much tankier, so I was definitely in more challenging territory now.
Got a burning desire to wreak some havoc!
Clive, I think you're crazy, bro.
Clive was quite the bombardier. Big bombs, small bombs, 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 bombs. Seriously, lots of bombs.
Oh crap, I found some friends. This is not good. Oh no, not the sunrise. Oh, not the sunrise. Oh no, not more friends. Try and blow one of these bombs up. Will that help? Yeah.
This trapper nerd whipped out some big plays when she successfully got me with this trap, and I whipped out ingenious plays when I ran away from the shade.
Run. Get these orbs. Get these orbs. Oh, why did I run away from the light? This is where I die. Run faster, dude. Run faster. Run faster. Okay.
For some reason, these idiots ran off when I fled over here.
He de-aggroed. I think that's fine. I have to restart. I think I needed to restart the fight anyway. Oh, he's coming back? Just let me heal? Thank you, Clive. You lovely man.
I had a bad habit of standing just outside the red circle of Clive's bomb impact, because even though I felt it shouldn't hit me, it always did. Regardless, Clive's silly willies running away mid-battle gave me the breathing space I needed to claim the victory. His blood unlocked the alchemy table, and gave me a chaos spell point with which I picked up Power Surge.
Merciless copper axe. Ooh. I guess the reason it doesn't let you teleport while carrying a bunch of crap is because they don't want to make it too easy to collect stuff on the go. You have to run home.
I tried out Power Surge, but the buff duration was so short that I wasn't a fan. So I returned to Old Faithful, the big purple shockwave.
Where's Nibbles the putrid rat, man? Any place too infested might be visited by Nibbles. If I get like 1 billion rats in my castle, maybe Nibbles will come fight me.
I'd run out of viable V-Blood targets, so I hit up the shady gem dealer, as I needed 2 crude amethysts to craft a weapon upgrade. I also purchased the Marauder Vest recipe book. After a rather long wolfy run back east towards home, I encountered an old friend. Magic seemed to do very little damage to it, but the crossbow did surprisingly decent damage. So I simply kited the lumbering dingus and whittled down his considerable health pool until he crumbled to pieces.
A ridiculous amount of stone. Merciless copper axes. Yes. Marauder vest. Yes.
I discovered the workbench crafts items more cheaply when on forge flooring, and I figured since I had a lot of upgrades to craft, it'd be wise to get a forge going. Lucky for me, I'd found the forge flooring research book earlier, so I soon had a little forge set up adjacent to the workshop. I rearranged the workshop a little so I could place another door just for more convenient pathing. The furnaces were obviously at home in the forge too.
Yeah, saving 2 copper ingots and a bunch of thread, a bunch of leather, yeah, very worth.
I finally made Night Stalker gloves, and I upgraded my Night Stalker vest to a Marauder vest. I also finally made a Traveler's wrap out of cloth bandits had dropped, and that went into my cloak equipment slot, which had previously been empty. A little more health and some sun resistance, increasing the amount of time I was able to withstand sunlight. I rearranged a little before completing my next quest to build a stone coffin, and of course I had a quick snooze to make it official.
Beautiful stone coffin.
For the following quest I needed 1 greater blood essence, and luckily I had 6 unsullied hearts, because 4 of those was enough to press into 1 greater blood essence. Once it was done, I used it to craft my first servant coffin.
Insert a charmed human. Vampire servants will defend your castle and can be sent out to hunt.
In order to charm a human, I'd been granted dominate human form, so clearly it was time for a little visit to some nearby humans.
69% creature. That's some pure creature blood, man. Yeah, this is giving me heaps of buffs. Nice.
I collected any gem rocks I saw, because I still needed more crude gems.
Blood moon. What does that mean?
This mugger became my first charmed friend. In retrospect, I probably should have chosen a target with better than 12% blood quality, but whatever. Back at the servant coffin, I learned that as a brute, he was good at hunting in harsh environments, and as a bandit, he was more effective hunting in Farbane woods. I paid 100 blood essence to convert him into my servant. This was set to take 40 minutes.
Blood moon. Boost the effects of your current blood type by 20%, increases your movement speed by 10%. That's what the blood moon does.
I was on the brink of upgrading my weapons to tier 4, but I'd run low on copper ingots. So I had a mining session in the nearby bandit copper mine, which is a rather inspirational use of the blood moon buff, no doubt. I found a Marauder vest book in this chest, which made me sad because I just bought one of these for 40 copper coins. Very rude. But I found the Marauder boots book in another chest, so that redeemed the situation. And my bags were nowhere near full of copper ore, so I paid a visit to the local mine too. I was there well into night 19, and I managed to fit in murdering Errol for a second time. I headed home once I had over 3,000 copper ore.
A treant. The hell?
This fight was pretty similar to the Stone Golem fight, except it got a little spicy when Goreswine the Ravager showed up out of nowhere towards the end. While that ridiculous amount of copper ore was smelting, I crafted gem storage, alchemy storage, herb storage, tailoring storage, and knowledge storage. Each had a distinct look and obviously held only its respective category of items. A great organizational tool. I researched the books I'd found, I crafted Marauder boots, and I'd finally rebuilt my collection of crude gems, so I was able to do this.
Merciless copper axes. And once this longbow's done, merciless copper longbow. Beautiful. So the arrow... Oh, bows have multi-shot. That's kind of cool.
You can also charge up your bow shots.
My Marauder boots as well. That's an upgrade. And that's the 2-set bonus for 50 extra health. My health shot up to 369. Not bad. Alright. Well, there's a couple of upgrades. What did that... Shot me up to 32 gear level. That's nice.
I paid a visit to the cemetery because I wanted morning lilies and grave dust, which drops from skellies. I found a fancy chest too. I soon returned to base with the resources needed to make a grave digger ring.
9.3 spell power instead of 7.
And I was rather enjoying being able to easily transfer all of my items into the various chests I'd crafted.
I think my dude's ready. Oh, I can name him. I'll call him Alfred because he's like my butler, but he's also a bit of a gangster.
A new revenant to suit my purposes.
Hello, Alfred.
Alfred's arrival marked another quest complete, and the next quest was quite interesting.
Okay, now I've got to get iron smelting and I've got to explore the world beyond Farbane Woods. So I've finished this area, basically.
But I still had a fair few V-Blood carriers in the area, so I didn't let the quest rush me.
Alright, let's make a few stone bodies, some grave dust as well, by grinding up some bones.
By the way, I couldn't actually command Alfred to do anything yet because I needed to make a throne from which to order him about, and I didn't have access to the materials to make one of those just yet. You can use 50 paper to research a random tech, so I gave it a whirl and unlocked Water Well.
A well filled with useless water.
On night 21, I headed to the far northeast of Farbane Forest, collecting as I went of course, and I soon arrived at the most excellent boss so far.
This is where the fishing boss is for sure. He's got his own boss arena. That's so sick. Alright, come on bro, let's go. What is he doing? He's fishing. He's fishing. He fished up some nerds. Some Magikarps. Ah! Oh, dude, what the heck is he doing? Oh! He's got a Gyarados as well. Oh, some pufferfish too. This boss fight is sick.
Fighting Finn the Fisherman was indeed a riot, as he fished up many a minion and used many fishing rod related attacks against me. But unfortunately for Finn, today I was the fishmonger, and he and his fish army were for sale in my stinky market stall.
I feel bad killing that guy. He's such a lovely fella.
His blood taught me how to make a fishing rod, of course, and I used the frost spell point he gave me to unlock Frostbat. When I spotted these hooligans being silly, I knew it was a shindig I couldn't bear missing, and I managed to withstand the creepy corpse pile and its burrowing shenanigans. And when I finished it off, would you believe it dropped a lot of bones? One nice thing about using 2 frost spells is that if a target is chilled by one frost spell, hitting it with another will freeze it. Very handy.
Alright, we're in the bear cave, baby.
Sadly, freeze doesn't work on bosses, because that would have been very handy against Kodia the ferocious bear. He shook the ground, causing chunks of rock to fall, and he went red bear angry mode and tried to rip my face off.
Ah! It's so fast!
And he whipped out some big charges.
Oh! What a beast.
But once again, none of his damage numbers were too scary, so I took the victory.
Alright, here we go.
Into a new skill.
Yeah. Oh.
I returned home to empty my bags and put a skull on my wall, some torches too. And I hadn't collected any wood since I got in my new tier 4 axe. It was a fair bit faster now, and soon I was able to craft a fishing pole. I added a small consumable storage to my setup. I somehow didn't make one of these earlier, and I whacked down an alchemy table too. You can make potions and explosives at this thing.
Hitting a chilled or frozen target shields you for 77% of your spell power. That seems strong.
And so I ventured forth to track down 2 more V-Blood carriers in the west. Against a single freezable target, freeze was kind of bonkers. It lasted 4 seconds, which was half the cooldown of all my abilities. Even against 2 targets it was nice, because I had 2 frosty bat charges.
See that accidental 360? I mean, totally on purpose 360?
I then wandered up to say hello to my friend Nikolaus the Fallen.
You will not interrupt my work.
I will interrupt your work, actually. Oh, dude, that exploded.
The green exploding orb was quite hard to avoid. He let loose some meandering angry green skulls, and he summoned a rather large volume of skelly boys. Fortunately, they were rather slow walkers, and multi-shot wore them down.
Yes? Oh no. Ow! Woo! Alright, so we got paper press, we got a bunch of candle stands, we got a bunch of rugs and curtains and stuff.
And my first tier 3 spell point.
Tier 3, yeah, it's one of these ones. What? I'm gonna unlock the spider shenanigans. Oh, this is an ultimate.
Yes indeed, my first ultimate. An unholy spider that explodes, creating 3 spiderlings that also explode. Lovely stuff.
Oh, what did I just get? Ring of the Spellweaver. Now we've got Pelora the Feywalker, who's still very, very far away. Very far away west. Oh yeah, see that damage? Oh! See the damage? How's this work? Someone's shooting at me while I'm trying to fish. Give it a... You're just hitting the tree, you big idiot. How do I know when it's time to... Oh! Alchemy lab flooring? That's actually really useful. Holy crap. Give me another really useful book, please. A fierce stinger.
I meandered to the far west of Farbane Forest until I finally arrived at this rather pretty meadow. There was a large volume of blood roses here, and my good friend Pelora the Feywalker. She summoned a butterfly-looking thing and shot a bunch of goobies at me, and she randomly went invisible too, but this was once again a rather straightforward fight.
Right, what do we get? We got garden foundations, including like 1 billion hedge versions. Holy crap.
I picked up the Phantom Ages spell. I collected every flower in the area. Flowers can be used for potions, so I figured why not. And I was way out west, so I had a long run home. On my way, I spotted a carriage being escorted by quite a few guards. I took them out and destroyed the carriage too so that I could get at its loot. And it was pretty impressive loot. 2 spell jewels, 2 research books, and more. However...
Oh, he ate me. No, I'm not delicious. Stop it.
And by the time I'd taken out the big bag of bones... No! Dude! Oh, it disappeared.
That had so much loot in it.
I continued the jog east, and finally arrived back at base where I of course got busy with the usual chores, including a record number of research unlocks. I deliberated switching out my gear to the Warlock set, which gives spell power, but I concluded I was a fan of the attack speed and health from the Marauder set, so I stuck with it.
Ring of the Spellweaver. I'm using up a Greater Blood Essence, which is very expensive, but 5% cooldown is good. More spell power is good. Alfred's just chilling. Look at Alfred, he loves it.
I made the Marauder gloves too.
Got 3 Marauder pieces now. Brings my gear level up at 39. Very nice.
I placed down 2 paper presses. These use sawdust and plant fiber to make paper. I got a bunch crafting. I collected wood and kept the sawmills chugging, because now not only the planks were useful, the sawdust was too. And I grabbed the small amount of sulfur I'd refined out of sulfur ore. Fortunately, I had enough to place some alchemist's flooring, which are made of 2 sulfur a piece. Before long, I had a little alchemy lab set up, and I figured I might as well make use of my newly acquired garden options too. While clearing some space, I remembered this ridiculous vermin nest thingo was here, and it turns out it belongs in an alchemy lab, so I expanded out the room a little to make space. The menacing greenness definitely gives off mad alchemist vibes. I continued working on the garden.
Lovely. Lovely.
I decorated through the night and had a lot of fun piecing everything together. To add some functionality, I planted a bunch of seeds that I'd gathered in my adventures.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
I finally added the 3rd sawmill that I'd always intended to slot in here.
I'm making a few painting frames and sculptured wood, which can be used for decorative stuff now.
I used one of those painting frames to hang a painting here. There were lots of painting options, and the building and decorating system is super smooth, so I was having lots of fun with it. A fair bit of paper had piled up, so I rolled the dice with some random tech researchers, and I unlocked gravel paths, so I tried placing some of those down, but it wasn't quite working for this little garden. And then it was time to teleport north to take on the final boss of Farbane Forest, Quincy the Bandit King. To get into the bandit stronghold, I had to go into bear form and unleash some big slaps on this gate, and I fought my way through the many bandits milling about.
Ooh, silver coins. Look out. 2 glass as well. I get some loot now. Oh wait, what? I'm carrying silver? It's doing damage to me. How do I deal with that? That's right, I forgot. Vampires are not a big fan of silver.
As I fought on, the sun rose, which was not ideal for my hunt.
Okay, he's just chilling up here in full sunlight.
So I waited in the shade until moonrise.
Are you ready for this, big fella? Quincy.
Quincy was a big buffer, with a rather spectacular chaotic shockwave move and a big shield charge. He also sometimes put up a reflective barrier.
Ah! He's gone. Oh, wait! He's ping-ponging. Oh, he stunned himself. Get some big damage.
After one more charging spree where the big idiot stunned himself again, I claimed victory over the Bandit King of Farbane Forest.
Nice.
This gave me some huge unlocks. The smithy, tailoring bench, and the ability to process iron. Also, a new ultimate.
That's pretty cool.
I'd completed half of my quest, so it was time to do the other half. I headed north to Dunley Farmlands, and soon I'd officially explored beyond the Act 1 region of Farbane Woods. I turned in the quest unlocking the music box, and the next quest was quite intriguing.
Discover a way to unlock prison cells. Tap the blood from a prisoner. What the hell?
I found my first ever quartz and my first ever regular quality gems from this gem rock. And while Farbane Woods was a lawless land overrun by bandits, Dunley Farmlands was more civilized, with a militia in place to keep the peace. Though it made little difference to me, since vampires are hated by bandits and law-abiding citizens alike. A new area meant new loot willy-nilly, including wool thread, scrolls, and yet more silver coins.
What do I do about the silver hurting me? I need to get my silver resistance up.
I had a quick look at the V blood carriers of this Act 2 region.
Charmed human to the prison cell allows you to craft blood potions by tapping prisoners on blood. Oh my gosh, this is unhinged.
And I decided it was time to relocate my castle. So I chose a central location on the map and began heading there. On the way I got in a rumble and I spotted my first 100% blood quality enemy. So I had to have a taste. By the way, the militia here were doing way more damage than enemies back in Farbane Woods.
100% warrior.
This was of course a very juicy find. Look at all them stats. Sadly, I didn't make much use of the perfect blood, as I soon arrived at what would become my new home. This spot had about twice the room of my old area back down south, and it featured a pond.
Alright, this is definitely my new home, because it's got a beautiful pond and a waterfall. And a chance of fishing right at my doorstep. Who could argue?
And lucky for me, this game has a well thought out castle relocation mechanic. You can place this castle relocation heart, link it to your existing castle, and then it lets you move every single thing you've built at the old location to the new. And so began the process of clearing and relocating. I intended for this to be my castle long term, and as such I was trying to somewhat plan out the layout as I went. All of the major buildings had to be relocated, but things like flooring and decorations weren't necessarily essential. So I didn't bother with the garden, for example, and instead let the game refund me those materials. And so on night 30 I made it official and everything was relocated.
It used to be there. Now, it's up here in the pretty much the middle of the map.
I found a couple more weapon research books, so I crafted the merciless copper sword and spear, and I continued working around the base while Alfred chased Bambi about. I planned out where my main entrance would be. I fiddled with the layout of my new forge. I began placing down this ebonite castle flooring I was fond of, and then I realized I'd unlocked stairs. I decided there should be a staircase in the center of this cavernous entrance area, so I made a spot for that to go.
Yeah, I don't know, we got work to do. Alfred is perpetually chasing deer. It's actually ridiculous.
I filled in some of the front wall with fancy glass windows for effect, and I changed my mind about the forge yet again.
I like it better if it goes back. Yeah, that's nicer. That looks pretty cool if you come up the stairs and see that. I'm sure we can do some nice pretty things out here.
With the arrival of a blood moon, I decided it was time I took on the challenge of this new area.
Well, these are just villages. Ooh. I can steal some workers for my shenanigans. Should I prey on the worker? Give me the worker blood, man. Sheep! Bah.
They weren't lying when they named this area Dunley Farmlands.
You know what, I need to bring out some melee. Bring back the days of the melee attacks. I haven't meleeed for horse! No!
I found my first iron ore rock over here.
They're throwing big things of fire at me, dude. Who's that? Who's this woman? What is she doing? Who is this? She just walked through fire and didn't give a crap.
And the militia archers whipped out big fire arrows extremely quickly, and they did rather large damage. So I was quickly learning that this Act 2 area was indeed going to be a fair bit harder than Act 1. I soon arrived at Dawnbreak Village, the home of my next target, Beatrice the Tailor.
Who's this? Oh, there she is. She's a big chonker. She's got a weird... What's going on with her face, dude? Alright, it's time. Wait, is she just a coward? Oh gosh, I think that's the that's the gimmick here. I'm gonna have to fight the whole town because she just runs away.
Yes indeed, Beatrice was not interested in battle, and she had surprisingly impressive cardio for a big girl. I was a bit slow going dealing with these archers, and when the sun rose, things got even trickier.
Oh, not the sun. I've been so slow.
By the time I dealt with them, Beatrice had reset, and I was in for a long day.
She's so fast.
It's not easy chasing an extremely athletic tailor while also trying to stick to the shadows. And when the militia patrol started respawning, things got even more chaotic.
Where'd she go? Chase her, don't let her reset. Oh, so much shade, good. Clouds? Alright, okay, we got it.
I cleaned up this rabble and was pleased to spot an 81% warrior to feast on, and I of course claimed my first V-Blood feast of the Dunley Farmlands.
Okay, I can mount these guys. Oh, this is faster than a wolf. This is faster than a wolf.
I headed up to the village's cemetery and ended up in a battle against 2 nuns, the first scholar blood type enemies I'd encountered.
These are level 46. What level am I? No, stop healing, dude. Got big heals. Stop healing each other. I can't kill these guys. They keep healing each other.
I discovered each horse has its own stats, and they need to be fed plant fiber to be kept alive.
Now, what did I actually unlock? Loom, so that's good. Yeah, cool. Oh, gosh. Simon Belmont. What are you doing here? What are you doing here, Simon Belmont? Who are you?
I chose to avoid Simon Belmont, and when I returned home, I dismounted in rather epic fashion. I had over 100 paper piled up, so I researched 2 random techs, I got a ring and a crossbow. I really wanted the mace upgrade, but this'll do.
We're smelting our first iron. It takes 1 minute and 30 seconds. Okay, I'm gonna need more forges.
By forges, I mean furnaces, and it's true. I was wondering whether I'd made my forge area too small. I made a loom out of planks, copper ingots, and wool thread.
Alright, I need to go to a cotton farm and steal a whole bunch of cotton, because then I can get the cotton yarn, and then I can get the tailoring bench.
I was also going to need a ton of iron to progress, so after raiding this militia encampment, where I found my first dual tier 2 featuring 2 spell modifications, I headed into the haunted iron mine just south of my base. As you might expect, this place was full of undead, but it was also full of iron ore.
Dude, what the heck? Bro, it's spewing forth green stinkiness. Another one. Oh, this one's for Spectral Wolf. Increases bouncing and it adds a snare to it. Interesting.
While here, I was hoping to find a level 44 V-Blood carrier to take on, but it turns out these fell mines are home to a level 47. As you can see, my damage numbers were in grey against this guy. This is because he was 8 levels higher than me and my effectiveness was reduced. He used a shield, and when I hit it, 2 skelly spawned. He used a big Reaper Whirlwind too, and he did one of these ones.
Oh, he hooked me. What a beast.
I decided that was my cue to flee. I headed the other way around the mine and continued collecting iron ore.
There he is. Stop following me, Krieg. Ow! Dude, what the hell? That burns for so much damage.
I mined iron well into night 35. I was in there so long the undead started respawning. And once the place had been mined dry, I headed out with over 3,000 iron ore.
Huh? Meredith the Bright Archer. Oh, for goodness sake. Run. Don't get me, Meredith. This area is scary, man.
I divvied up the iron ore between my 4 furnaces. Another 100 paper had been crafted, so I rolled the dice and researched another armor piece and a potion.
The iron takes ages, so while the iron's going...
I collected, I realized I could make large chests now, so I made a couple of those, and got rid of my small chests. And I headed out on an excursion to the local cotton farms. This wasn't as straightforward as you might imagine, because there were patrols of militia every 5 steps.
I can hide in the haystack. Burst forth from the haystack. Oh, they got garlic hanging up at the front of their house. That's outrageous.
They had garlic galore, but I was single-minded in my pursuit of cotton, so I just put up with it. I stole their sunflower crop too.
Sorry, I stole all of your crop. This is disgraceful behavior, to be honest.
I then finally looked at what the garlic debuff was doing to my poor vampiric body.
Increases damage taken and reduces your damage output. Oh, okay. So it doesn't do damage to you, it's just a big debuff.
And I'd let 74 stacks pile up, so I was now taking 74% more damage and dealing 37% less damage.
Makes me smell bad, increasing the range at which enemies detect me. I've made a mistake.
I'd collected 330 cotton from that first farm, which didn't feel like a lot, so it was time for farm number 2. And I guess I was just gonna have to put up with the garlic debuff. Luckily, only silly villagers tried to fight me, because I was dealing pathetic damage. By the time I was done, I had the maximum 100 stacks of garlic exposure.
Treat us vampires like this just because we're different? Just because we suck blood and have mild murderous tendencies?
The map said there were merchants in this area here next to my base, and it was indeed a market, but I didn't appear to be welcome, so I took the hint. Back at base, I put the 580 cotton into the loom to be turned into yarn, 16 cotton per yarn, and 50 iron ingots had been smelted, so I used 32 of those to make a smithy, at which I was able to craft iron weapons. I queued up an iron longbow and a mace, and I gave my old bow to Alfred.
It made his hunt proficiency way better.
And even after all that busy work, my garlic stack was still at 81. As the iron ingots became available, I continued crafting iron weapons. I made a second loom to speed up cotton yarn production, and I soon had the 24 required to make a tailoring bench. I made an upgraded cloak, featuring some garlic resistance.
Just 15 garlic resistance reduces the application rate by 60%. and increases recovery rate by 60%.
I made a garlic resistance potion out of Hell's Clarion flowers, and it added a further 40, shooting that number up to 220%. This was great news, as without this I would have had to wait around for a rather long time for the debuff to drop off. I'd soon upgraded all my weapons, so I headed out.
Oh, I got new abilities. Oh yeah, the iron weapons have new abilities.
The bow now had guided arrow, the sword had shockwave, the axes had X-strike, the mace had smack, the spear had harpoon, and the crossbow had snapshot. I tracked down Vincent the Frostbringer, a level 44 V-Blood carrier, and I figured with my new weapon upgrades I could take him on. But it was daytime, so I don't think this was the play. Also, I was switching weapons willy-nilly because I was excited about my new skills, but there was no strategy to it, so it was an absolute shambles. I was very quickly forced to flee.
What the hell? Where'd you come from? Militia veteran? Now that I'm actually taking more damage, maybe I should be using vermin salves more.
I killed some time before night and went in for round 2 with Frosty Vincent.
He froze on my spiders. I only use frost against you too, bro. Ow. He's so fast.
He was indeed rather fast. I found I was using my dash to simply get away from the big fella, which meant it was on cooldown every time he shot his ice shard thingos at me, and I was getting frozen willy-nilly.
Oh dude, what is that? Don't you dare.
This fight was a bit of a wake-up call, because in the first act, combat had been forgiving, and I think I'd gotten away with playing pretty sloppily, but I simply couldn't afford to get hit so much when fighting Vincent, and perhaps I needed to rethink which spells I was using and apply some deeper strategy. Regardless, the win looked within reach when my spider ultimate came off cooldown.
Alright, get some heals off.
Blood sustains me. Our veins run dry.
I have no... Oh no, I have no blood in me. Dude, he's running away. No, bro.
I was too scared to give proper chase considering my own low health, and so the fight was reset. I claimed blood from some nerd, healed up, and went in for round 3. This time I used Spectral Wolf and Chaos Volley, and a militia patrol joined the party. But once they gave off chasing and left us alone, I seemed to be a little more switched on to his moveset. But once he was low, yet another militia patrol came to join the fun. In the chaos, he ran off and reset once again.
It's just so many patrols, dude. This is crazy. No! I'm dead. I'm actually dead. How am I not dead? Because the wolves apply Phantasm, and Phantasm has a chance to reset cooldowns, and it also just lowers cooldowns in general. It feels like my spell cooldowns are up so much more often.
So at least I was having fun trying out some different spells. Oh, and welcome to round 4. This was another poorly planned fight as the sun rose midway through.
Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. I'm dead. I'm dead. Stunlocked for days, bro. This giant rock is gonna save my life, clearly. No, it's not. Wait for an ally. I have no allies. No!
And so I suffered my first death. Sad days.
I'm actually enjoying the harder combat. Like, I can definitely be much better at dodging some of those things, but some of them, it's like, my character just runs flaming slow. What do you want me to do?
I headed back out to collect my dropped gear, and the plan was to collect more cotton so I could craft some upgrades. But I guess when I saw Christina the Sun Priestess, I couldn't resist. She summoned big tanky buffers and was capable of healing herself, so this was a very different fight to Vincent. I used my mace's new smack move to stun her and interrupt her heals. But as the fight dragged on and she continued summoning nerds, it wasn't always easy to pull off. On this occasion, I completely air swung the smack, and trying to interrupt her heal had put me in a compromising position, so...
I'm trying to... This is revealing how bad I am at the game. Oh dear.
Clearly I was suffering from big noob energy and low spirits, because when I returned to grab my gear...
Oh dude. I didn't even realize I took that much damage.
When I returned again, I took vengeance on that meathead by dropping a spider ultimate right on his noodle. And then I swore off boss fights for a bit and headed out to accept some generous crop donations.
Alright, thanks for regrowing your crops so promptly, friends. Appreciate that.
And I was in such poor form, I almost got one-tapped by the sun.
Run, horse. Run!
As the cotton I'd collected was refined into yarn, I set about turning this big entrance area into a room with an actual roof. I placed some flooring on the second floor to see how that would work, and as the cotton yarn was made ready, I crafted some Holofang gear. And so I'd pushed my gear score up a few points to 45, as I was rocking 2 Holofang and 2 Marauder pieces of armor. But it was almost daytime, so I killed some time until night with some homemaking. I experimented with the front of the castle, and it ended up looking like this, with 2 saplings freshly planted. And I headed out with the cover of night to track down my old friend Vincent. Surely, with a few upgrades under my belt, I'd be able to take him on. right? I used Blood Right this time, as I figured an extra defensive cooldown would go a long way, and I was off to an okay start.
Oh, not Bane the Shadowblade. Who are you? Who are you? Yeah, fight him. Help me. I love you. What's going on?
But as usual, I drifted the battle too far away from where it started, so Vincent ran off to reset.
No.
I roped him back into the fight, and did my best to get out of the way so Bane and Vincent would rip each other's heads off. A truly honourable strategy.
This is how we get a double kill, bro. Oh, dude, what the hell?
Bane was up to all sorts of shenanigans, but I honestly had no idea what was going on. I was just happy they were ripping into each other and not me. I did my best to lower their health evenly, because I was indeed keen to claim a cheeky double kill. Soon Vincent was defeated, but a level 50 Bane the Shadowblade with a decent chunk of health now had all of his attention focused on me. When these nerds showed up, I thought it was all over.
Extract the blood. Am I vulnerable while doing this? No, I'm invincible. Yes. Cheesed. Cheesed like crazy. All right, and we can still do this guy. Get him. Yes. No crap. The double kill. This guy got me human form, and I can make slashes. Okay, this guy gave me the prison cell.
I claimed a tier 2 frost spell that improved my dash, making it shield me and inflict chill, and I picked up Ward of the Damned too. I was able to make prison cells now, so I figured I better charm a prisoner. A 28% blood quality rogue seemed good enough for my first victim. I'd also unlocked reinforced planks, which cost 3 iron ingots and 3 planks, so I got a bunch of those crafting, and it was time to continue working on the castle. I cleared a bunch of space out back and expanded out, and I'd never actually rebuilt my alchemy lab after the move to this location, so I got onto that. I also placed a little garden connected to the lab, similar to how I'd set things up back at the old castle. Once a couple of reinforced planks were ready, I was able to place down my first prison cell.
Imprison charm. There we go.
I found one glass bottle I'd looted at some point.
Blood potion. Oh, did that kill her? Okay, so now I've got this 28% rogue blood that I can just keep with me and drink when I want. Yeah, I just killed that prisoner. I didn't realize it was going to do 30% damage, but anyway, GG. Rest in peace.
That was another quest completed, and I unlocked prison flooring.
Yeah, if I find some 100% dudes, I've got to charm them and imprison them for sure. Then I can just have very high quality blood on tap.
I continued building, including planting all the seeds I'd collected in my new garden, and I placed some prison flooring down. I sprinkled lighting about, I set up the prison walls, and I decided to turn this room behind the stairs into a tailoring area. I hadn't unlocked tailoring floors just yet, but it wouldn't hurt to get organized. There wasn't quite enough room to fit all the tailoring and leatherworking stuff in there, so I made some adjustments and soon the room was complete. And it was indeed nice to be more organized.
I forgot that I got human form. Oh, is that what that person I see wandering around is? Is that a vampire being sneaky?
I made some iron slashes.
Ooh, that's kind of cool. Dash back and forth. An invisibility move. Are you also a vampire pretending to be a human?
I had to play with my new slashes, and by the time I'd taken out a few enemies, it was daytime. And I was near the haunted mine, so I figured I might as well take shelter from daylight. I ended up in another scrap with Krieg the undead general, and I was determined to take him on using my new slashes, but it turns out this was a terrible plan, as I had an absolute stinker. We'll pretend that one didn't happen. I was clearly just fooling around. I ended up hanging out in the haunted mine well into day 45, because I did need to stock up on more iron ore considering how expensive reinforced planks are. I returned home with 1500 iron ore.
Just an innocent human taking a very normal walk.
This is the merchant village right next to my base, and now that I had human form, I was able to sneak in to investigate. It had the same merchants as the shady dealer camps back in Bandit Land, just with better stuff on offer. I wanted to check out the book prices because I was keen on upgrading my gear, and I was going to need to save up a lot of silver coins somehow. I took advantage of the blood moon buff to take on the sun priestess again, and after one false start where a big beefy militia veteran interrupted the battle, I went in for round 2. I was once again reliant on my mace stun to ensure she didn't heal up too much, which I actually managed to pull off this time without getting myself too far out of position. But as is typical when fighting on Dunley farmland roads, groups of dinguses kept appearing out of nowhere to add to the goons she was summoning.
Dude, so many enemies come out of nowhere! Please! Yes!
So that was a spicy end to the fight, but Christina was defeated.
Ooh, that was intense. Alright, that's candles, wool thread. Silver bag is good.
I picked up the tier 2 illusion spell Mosquito, and this spell lures enemies to attack the illusory Mozzie, and then it fears them all away. This is excellent crowd control, so I was a big fan. When I spotted this 75% blood quality scholar, she was doomed to imprisonment.
Is this truly evil work? Charming a nun and bringing home to put in my prison so I can drain her blood to get a delicious scholar's blood.
Imprisoning 70% plus blood enemies was my plan to ensure I always had juicy blood on hand. I fed the nun a fat goby to heal her up.
Been pressing lots of unsullied hearts, pretty much everyone that I've found, and now I've got 4 greater blood essence.
I made an empty glass bottle out of 6 glass and claimed the 75% scholar's blood. Rats restore 20 to 30% of prisoners' health, and they're very cheap to make, so this was good news. I used the 4 greater blood essence to finally craft my throne, from which I was able to command my servants. This let me select various locations on the map to send Alfred to, but since he didn't have a complete set of items equipped, his chance to actually succeed on a hunt was rubbish. I earned crypt flooring as a reward for getting the throne set up. I noticed my flowers had grown, so I enjoyed a little harvest. I think these regrow every couple of days, and I gave Alfred a higher level weapon. I also crafted him some gloves and a ring. This raised his hunt proficiency from 278 to 398, and he was now proficient enough to hunt in Farbane Forest. The max duration hunt was 23 hours, and I wasn't sure if this was hours played or 23 real-world hours, so I sent him hunting in the fishing lake for 2 hours as an experiment. I looked into making the silver thread bag, but I needed 8 silver coins to actually make it, so I set out raiding militia camps hoping to find silver coins in chests. I found some good stuff, but had no immediate luck on the coins. And then I headed south to the Farbane Forest, because I was due a visit to an old friend. Tristan had once harassed me back when I was about level 15, so it was time for revenge. He had a big fire arrow move and a couple of lunging attacks with his sword, so I did my best to use my dash wisely. He was also fond of throwing bombs everywhere. I was thrown off when a patrol of bandits joined the party, and so I ran through fire like an idiot, and a poorly timed dash use meant it was on cooldown at a key moment and I got absolutely crunched. I got in some sneaky heals, whipped out some evasive maneuvers, and honestly, watching this back, my dash usage was just poor. His moves really aren't that hard to dodge, but anyway, it went down to the wire.
Yes. Oh, please. Oh, it's close. It was close.
On the way home, I finally found some coins.
Yes, 4 silver.
I also fished, stole a little cotton, and I got a juicy recipe from killing Tristan.
New recipe, 150 blood essence gives me greater blood essence. It was amazing.
Previously, greater blood essence was very slow to get, so I whacked on heaps to craft. And as you can see, I brought home a friend, a 78% blood quality warrior.
I'm nearly out of blood, so let's try the nun blood. Increase spell power, spell cooldown recovery, 15% chance to reset spell cooldown on cast. Man, I need to find 100% scholar.
I had to repair some of my armor for the first time ever, which cost me a bunch of leather and coarse thread, and Tristan had also given me a tier 3 blood spell point, so I picked up Heart Strike. He'd also given me the Great Sword recipe.
Big slow swings. What's the Q? Q is a boof. Launches enemies into the air. Woohoo!
I finally made a tomb at which you can summon skellies just to kill them for their drops. I invited a ghoul to visit. On night 50, I returned to the haunted mines to track down my old bud Krieg, the undead general. I learned early on in the fight to resist dashing to dodge his triple harpoon hook move, and to instead save my dash to avoid his Reaper whirlwind. Once I employed that logic properly, the fight felt quite doable. The first primary attack after a dash heals you up, so taking the opportunity to land a shot also kept me healthy. It ended up being a relatively clean fight, and it was beginning to feel like I was no longer the noob that chain died a few days back.
I can get the Reaper now, that's pretty cool.
I picked up Soulburn and collected some iron, but my blood pool soon ran low, so I headed out to find a human to feed on and ended up in a rather precarious situation. Meredith the Bright Archer landed a stun on me and I suffered some sunburn. And then I played a ridiculous game of run around the tent like a goose on the loose while Meredith tried to shoot at me.
Oh, she got me through the tent!
Back at base, the ghoul had arisen, so I sent him back to the grave. And my warrior prisoner had healed up a little, so I yoinked a blood potion from him. Also, Alfred was home, and I hadn't played the full 2 hours, so it must have been 2 real-time hours, which was great news. I next sent him to the sulfur mines for a 23-hour expedition. I drank the 78% warrior blood, and I don't think I've highlighted this enough, but the stats given by blood are amazing. This warrior blood was giving me about 14% physical power, 20% increased weapon skill cooldown rate, and 9% reduced damage taken. I took on Meredith, and this cart here was my best friend as I hid from her line of sight to avoid many of her arrows. She summoned rather chunky goons though, so that was a spanner in the works. But this was a fight of running around in circles and using my skills on cooldown, and now that I was more deliberate with my dash uses, things went fairly smoothly. Until the end, that is.
Come on, oh no.
Guide my
you gotta be kidding me. No! Okay. Ooh, that was tight. What? A whip?
I unlocked my first storm magic spell, Ball Lightning, and it seemed pretty good. Every time you drain blood from a prisoner, they become more miserable, meaning they'll take more damage from being blood tapped, increasing their risk of dying. Fortunately, feeding them certain fish makes them less miserable, so I queued up some fishies for the warrior. By the way, all these prisoners and stealing their blood is rather grim. You gotta love it. My next target was Leandra the Shadow Priestess, so I headed over to the Church of the Damned. I was trying out my old Frost spell combo because I'd found tier 2 jewels for both spells, but I wasn't enjoying it, so I switched out to try a Chaos combo. My Aftershock spell had a jewel that meant I was healed by Chaos igniting my enemies.
6% heal is crazy, so this is good heals.
And with much higher quality blood, I was feeling a lot stronger too.
Oh, holy crap.
That was a move I definitely needed to dodge. Except she also made it rather dark and sent an army of nerds to lunge at me, so I had a bit of a stinker. But at least I'd gotten a feel for the fight, so when I returned I'd subbed out both my spells for defensive options, which I used to mitigate as much damage as possible. This seemed to work pretty well, though it did reduce my offensive capabilities. She didn't seem to have much health though, so I whittled her down relatively quickly.
The artisan table, craft magical objects. Nice.
I headed straight east, pushing into territory as yet unexplored, and I soon arrived at the Forbidden Tower, which had quite a lovely vibe actually. Inside was Maya the Dark Savant, and she was quite an interesting individual.
The exquisite suffering of a paper cut!
Oh gosh, not a paper cunt.
Along with flinging paper, she also tried to heal by eating her minion with her big flappy book.
No, don't eat your minion.
This fight reminded me of the good old days in Act 1 when I had very little trouble with the bosses, because despite her impressive book-themed theatrics, she was pretty easy.
Easy.
But I was right.
And right on theme, killing Maya unlocked the study, so I would now be able to research higher tier books. And again, this tower and its grounds are genuinely pretty. I wandered into this Colosseum, which was empty, so I deduced this is probably a PvP arena. And I'd found some more silver coins by this point, so...
Alright, give me, yes, a better bag. Finally.
I made an artisan table using greater blood essence, which I now had heaps of, and scourge stone, which I managed to collect in the Church of the Damned earlier. I needed more scourge stone to make a jewelry upgrade, and I unlocked the ability to resurrect a skelly priest that has a chance to drop them. So I did that using some sunflowers and gem dust. I next placed down a study, at which I immediately unlocked a bunch of tech.
Oh, I can't even make the iron whip though, or the pistols. I could get level 18 weapons, but I can't even make the level 15 version of these yet.
I'd also unlocked library flooring, so it was time to actually put a room upstairs. I of course moved all the library related stuff up here.
Let me look at this wallpaper business, man. What do we got here?
I'd unlocked some wallpapers ages ago, and this felt like a good room to use this carved wood one. The Skelly Priest had arrived, but no Scourge Stone drop was forthcoming. And here's the Reaper weapon type. It has lots of wide sweeping, spinny type moves. I then furnished my new library, just a touch.
Yeah, looks good, man. Alright, here's my bag finally. Boom, 3 more extra slots.
And I could now carry up to 200 silver coins safely. I checked out the level 6 armor I'd unlocked, but I needed thick leather to craft them, and I was yet to unlock that, but I at least discovered a better way to get Scourge Stone. I could craft it in a furnace out of whetstones and grave dust, and so that enabled me to craft the Scourge Stone pendant.
15.6 spell power instead of 12.2.
Once 3 more Scourge Stones were ready, I made some Dusk Callers. These have a rather nefarious use, as you'll see soon. I also crafted the Nobleman's Suit, which is just a cosmetic set, and I actually thought it looked boring compared to my usual armor, so that was a bit of a fail. I played around placing a room at the top of the stairs here, but the way the wall pillar hung over the stairs annoyed me, so I rearranged once, I changed my mind and rearranged some more, and I ended up deciding this would be my bedroom, and Alfred's too, of course. And then I headed out west.
Oh, that's a 92% rogue. Hell yeah.
I subdued her, and it was time to test my new toy.
Use the Dusk Caller to send her back to an empty prison cell. Go bats. Yes.
Enjoy your stay.
Yes indeed, those helpful bats had transported her back to the castle. Very handy. As I headed into this quartz quarry, I had a bit of a lucky spree, as I found a 78% warrior, who I charmed and sent home, and amazingly, a second 92% rogue, who of course got the same treatment. I collected my fill of quartz, and murdered many a nerd, and I soon came upon my target, Gretha the Glass Blower. She threw stuff at me, charged at me, and splattered molten glass all over the place, and I think the highlight was when she blew me across the room.
Gotcha. We can make glass now.
I unlocked my second storm spell, Cyclone, another nice area effect spell, except sparky. I descended into the quarry proper and collected as much quartz as I could, as glass is made from quartz and I was gonna need a fair bit of glass. I also took to smashing all the crates and barrels, because there was lots of good stuff in there. See how the little jolts of lightning are chaining between these fellas? That's because storm spells apply a static debuff, meaning if you hit them, that chain lightning thing can happen, which is pretty cool.
Oh, there's a 100% rogue. Holy crap, okay.
This was the crappiest crossbow idiot ever, and yet he had a juicy 100% blood quality. I was very careful not to accidentally kill him, and I of course dominated him, but sadly my prison was full so the Dusk Caller wouldn't work.
Just gotta jog it home, little man.
This was a genuinely glorious find, because as long as I took care of this fella, he'd give me that 100% blood for eternity. These wolves very nearly killed him on the way home though, and honestly, if they did, I would have cried.
Straight into the prison at the back here.
I put all the quartz on to turn into glass, and I used up almost all of my iron expanding my prison. Each cell costs 8 iron ingots and 2 reinforced planks. That's 14 iron ingots total. So these 7 cells I added set me back almost 100 ingots. I also did a little rearranging to get the cells positioned to my liking.
7 iron ingots just to repair my bow.
Now that I had plenty of greater blood essence, it was no problem to add 4 more servant coffins, which took me up to my current limit of 5 for the castle. I placed down crypt flooring in here too. This meant that when I converted both 92% rogues and my 78% warrior, it was going to take 20 minutes instead of 40. Then it was time to accept a present from my new friend.
Boom, 100% rogue blood. Let's go!
I fed him rats and fish to keep him healthy and happy.
Upgrade castle heart, 24 glass, 8 reinforced plank, 1 greater blood essence.
And so I could now make my castle even bigger, and that was a quest complete too, the reward for which was kind of random.
Once constructed, the Eye of Mortium allows you to track rift incursions within the ruins of Mortium.
I thought this thing looked at home in the library, so that's where it went. And it did indeed track rift incursions.
Oh, this is how you get ancestral weapons and Stygian shards in the ruins of Mortium, but it's level 80 plus, so I can't do that just yet. If I get Castle Heart to level 4 now, I get Dominate Mount. Interesting, but I need Radium Alloy and Primal Blood Essence. Okay, that sounds like it's a long way off. Very exciting developments.
Upgrading the castle had increased the limit, so I placed a 6th servant coffin, I made more Dusk Callers, and I defeated all the V-Blood carriers up to level 50, so it was time to track down some level 53s. And look at all these militia getting mowed down. That's the good stuff. I drank my 100% rogue blood potion.
50% chance of critical strike to expose victim's armor, increasing damage taken from all sources by 15%. I'm getting 15% movement speed, plus 25%. I'm getting like over 20% crit. 100% chance to crit after using Veil.
Veil is my dash, and the rogue blood had also reduced its cooldown by about 2 seconds, which is huge. So I'd definitely just gotten a heck of a lot stronger. I was pleased to claim some silver from this camp, and I happily collected resources as I struck out further east than I'd ever gone before, across the bridge and into the Hallowed Mountains. Night 60 was a blood moon, and blood moons increase the effects of your blood type by a further 20%, which is bonkers. So when I bashed up these polar bears, it may have been an unfair fight. After trudging through the snow for a while, I found my target.
There he is. Oh dude, what is he?
He's Frostmaw, the Mountain Terror, and he has an assortment of frosty abilities at his disposal. Quite a cool boss, no doubt about it. He whipped out a blizzard too, which was rather spicy as he flailed his enormous limbs about and ice spikes burst forth from the ground.
Can't see, dude. Oh, no way. That's not fair.
Fortunately, I was dishing out pretty big damage, because if the fight had dragged on, it might have been dicey. But as it was, many a critical hit wore down the Yeti, and he met his icy demise.
Dude, this is crazy. Yeah, boy. Okay, now I can get thick leather, which means I can start upgrading my gear. Beautiful. I can get a bigger bag already.
I picked up the Ice Block Ultimate too, which promised to be quite a juicy defensive ability. I wandered north across a rather imposing bridge and found myself in the ruins of Mortium.
Hand of Dracula. Oh, it's a Draculan blood type. What the hell?
I took out both hands and tiptoed into the South Fortress ruins, which was full of vampire cultists. There was some kind of creepy ritual going on in the middle there. I decided it was none of my business. One benefit of this gloomy place is that apparently the sun doesn't shine here, because even though it was daytime, I was moving about freely. I found this vampire merchant who sold the shards of ancestral weapons for the cost of 1,000 Stygian shards. You get these shards from the rifts, and this made me realize the ruins I'd been at actually had a rift, and it was only level 57 plus. Not 80 plus like the one earlier.
Oh, Hallowwood. What? I got some hello wood.
I returned to the ruins because I wanted some of them Stygian shards.
That's a lot of bats, dude. What is this thing? Ripper beast? No.
I whipped out Ice Block and realized maybe it wasn't the defensive powerhouse I was hoping, but I managed to take out all the bats and the Ripper beast nonetheless. But this place was absolutely teeming with vampiric horrors. This Night Maiden shot creepy love heart orbs at me, so I made sure to avoid those. And though I was fighting enemies as much as 9 levels higher than me, I seemed to be managing okay. When I finally cleared the last enemy from this area near the entrance, I must have finished some part of the Rift event because I was awarded some Stygian shards.
Is it because I cleared the area or something? The hell did I do?
I took out the cultist below what I assumed was the rift, and my 100% rogue blood ran out, so I drank some 78% warrior blood. And there was a crystal thingo in the air over here, so I next took on this collection of horrors. A second wave appeared, so I took on those too, and finally another Night Maiden. With that, the crystal exploded and I collected another 50 Stygian shards. And the rift in the center had opened, and a lesser blood soul had appeared.
Can I take on a lesser blood soul, you reckon?
I don't know, but I was determined to try. But things weren't looking great when I copped a frost arrow to the face, followed by a surprise frost stomp out of nowhere. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. She got me with a sneak attack again. And then I tried to ice block, hoping it would save me, but nope.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't like that ulti anymore.
I respawned at the nearby waygate, so I was able to head straight back in there. And she hadn't regenerated her health, so that was a bonus. I subbed in Bloodright to up my defensive capabilities, but I had a doozy copping multiple ice arrows, and though I managed to get her pretty low, I suffered the same fate.
Oh gosh. Oh, I didn't even see her cast that one.
I returned yet again, and it looked like the rift was about to end, but it gave me 10 more minutes, and that was the chance I needed. I whipped out my spider ultimate for big damage, and it really was lucky she didn't regain much health after each attempt, because this was hard going. She was shooting ice arrows everywhere, every few seconds, so it was tricky to avoid them all.
Please. No. That didn't hit me somehow? I did it! I did it! I may have chain died to achieve it, but that's fine. The Glimmering Bastard Sword. It's got like a special whirlwind on it. Bring it to an ancestral forge to restore it. Okay.
I also found the shards of an ancestral spear, and I ended up with 362 Stygian shards total. Not bad. I then headed out to do what I'd come here for in the first place. I tracked down General Elena the Hollow.
Enemies of Dracula will be punished.
Miss Hollow was also a fan of the frost, as she called down vicious hail and shot forth a shockwave of ice. I thought I was clever blocking this hailstorm, but it only made me vulnerable to the icy earthquake.
She shoots so fast, dude. How fast does that come out?
And then the solution to my dilemma came to me. Run around the rock like an idiot for 5 hours. This allowed me to cling on to life while still chipping away at her health.
Wait, what? Why is she on an ice pillar? What the hell? What's she doing?
Honestly, these ice pillar silly willies was just her showing off, but I knocked her off eventually.
The big rock strategy is just OP.
I failed you, Master.
You can't defeat me and my rock. There's no way, bro.
Then it was time for a rather long run home, with a break for fishing, of course. I discovered the hallow wood I'd accidentally collected yields oil when refined at a sawmill, which is handy because thick leather is made from thick hide plus oil. Fortunately, I had about 50 oil dropped by militia I'd killed, so I was able to queue up a fair bit of thick leather to craft. I did some gardening, and I'd filled up all the plots out here, so I placed some more. I made sure to collect some more delicious 100% rogue blood, and I crafted the mountain peak bag with some thick leather that I'd just crafted.
26 max health on my bag is sick. We got even more inventory slots. Big fan of that too. And the other thing I can make is this. I need 4 greater blood essence.
This is the altar of Stygian awakening.
I can get tier 1 passives with Stygian shards. I almost had 400. Critical strikes leech 5% health, and there's a 25% chance to spawn a blood orb when killing a target affected by leech. Holy crap, that's so good. Harold's quite a good name. Harold is a great name for this young woman.
I also welcomed Bruce and Krusty to the party.
I really do just need to make them a bunch of gear, don't I?
I made some level 3 Night Stalker armor out of leather and coarse thread I had left over, and I started divvying out random gear I'd kept from earlier. I finally made some Blood Hunter boots, my first level 6 piece of armor, and I crafted some rings for my goons too. Soon they were each wearing a vaguely respectable set of gear, with gear scores of around 38, only 11 worse than mine. Even still, they didn't quite have the hunt proficiency to pull off hunts in the Dunley farmlands, not with 100% success chance at least. I sent Bruce to the lake to get me oil and fish. I sent Krusty to take on a cotton farm, and he had a 75% chance, which is decent enough. I sent Harold to a cotton farm too, and she only had a 49% chance. But if they did succeed, they'd bring home like 800 cotton, so it was worth a shot.
Everyone's away on hunt. 2 cotton farms, a fishing lake, and a sulfur quarry under attack from my minions.
I headed to Bedrock Pass, which featured many a gem rock and this iron golem. I decided to try out a combo of unholy spells at this point, which meant I was summoning Skelly Boys willy-nilly. Also, have I mentioned fighting in the daytime is a stupid idea?
Give me some proper shade, dude.
The Skellies are quite strong purely as a distraction, as this obviously helped me avoid damage and also gave me extra time to deal damage.
Okay, we beat the big iron boy. He gave me 300 iron. Don't mind if I do.
I danced with some bandits for a bit and returned to Bedrock Pass once it was nighttime to take on Terra the Geomancer. And them Skellies really are a great distraction. Terra turned into a giant golem and summoned 2 mini golems, and she was immune to damage until I killed off the little ones. Meanwhile, rocks were flying everywhere.
Okay, I feel like skeletons are pretty strong. Just distract these nerds.
I took 0 damage until she whipped out one of these ones later in the fight, and I eventually forced her to shed her golem disguise and finish her off.
The Pendant of the Dawn Runner sounds like an upgrade to me.
I picked up the Spectral Guardian Illusion Ultimate, and I had an excellent fishing effort.
Oh, Taylor's flooring. Let's go.
I paid a visit to the Dunley Monastery.
Oh, holy radiation. Oh my gosh.
So I was going to need holy resistance to go in there.
Oh, let's summon this golem, by the way. Go, golem. Gives shields. What a beast. Bro, what the hell? You got enough horses, guys? Settle down.
I researched 4 rather juicy new techs, which allowed me to upgrade my pendant to have even more spell power, 6% movement speed, and a 10% chance for primary attacks to inflict condemn. It also allowed me to replace my tailoring area's flooring with this lovely green carpet, and to craft the Dusk Watcher chest guard out of thick leather and iron ingots. This had 3% physical crit chance on it, and so my gear jumped to level 54. Equipping that broke my Marauder 2 set bonus, so I replaced the gloves too. Gear level 55.
Oh wait, this is how you get Nibbles the Putrid Rat. What the hell?
Apparently, I'd never looked at the vermin nest options properly, because here comes Nibbles. He burrowed into the floor and summoned a bunch of rat goons.
You're making a mess on my new carpet, man. Oh.
Defeating Nibbles earned me a glorious new form. And defeating that rock lady earlier had unlocked the gem cutting table.
The Siege Golem Stone, it's like you make a Siege Golem, and I think it's a PvP thing. You can attack someone else's castle with it.
Beyond that, this table combined 4 crude gems into 1 regular gem. Killing Meredith earlier had unlocked holy resistance potions, so I crafted a couple of those out of sunflowers.
Alright, my first merciless weapon. The slashes.
I didn't use my slashes much, but it was nice to have my first level 18 weapon. I spotted that a rift had opened in these ruins, the same ruins from before, so I headed over to claim some Stygian shards. This time there were different enemies, little Shadowkin gremlins and these flappy blood prophets. There were also more Night Maidens.
Oh no. No. No.
Soon the Lesser Blood Soul arrived, but this one wasn't frosty. It was a fan of shooting green sludge. I spammed my unholy spells at it, it spammed its unholy spells at me, but I was clearly the unholiest as I came out on top.
Oh dude, a tier 3 chart. Oh.
And 376 Stygian shards total. While I was over this way, I decided I should grab some Hallow Wood, because I'd run out of oil and this seemed to be the simplest way to get more. The really big trees here are the ones that give Hallow Wood, and collecting it is much slower going than collecting regular wood, so I spent literally all of night 68 hacking at many a tree.
2,250 Hallow Wood, 9,500 wood,
and a few thousand plant fiber as well. On the way home, I ran into Jade the Vampire Hunter, and the hunter became the hunted. I'd switched out my spells because I'd found that juicy Cyclone Jewel, so I was rocking Cyclone with 3 modifications making it stun, do more damage, and last longer. And though this build lacked distracting skellies, I think it did a lot more damage. Except she kept silencing me.
Stop silencing me. Stop silencing me.
This chunky boy interrupted proceedings, and while I was finishing him off, Jade disappeared.
Where'd you go? I wasn't finished with you, bro. Come back.
She'd somehow reset and reappeared down the road, so I started the fight again.
Ah, dude. Oh, no, not Simon Belmont. No.
And so attempt 2 was thwarted as well.
I'll get you later, Jade, you cheater.
Back at base, I put all the Hallow Wood into the sawmills, and this was set to make me about 80 oil, which is kind of crap for how long I spent lumberjacking, but oh well. I used 400 Stygian shards to unlock my first passive ability, Blood Spray. This meant critical hits would restore health, and considering I had high crit chance thanks to the 100% rogue blood I was constantly guzzling, this was set to be hugely beneficial. I returned to the Dunley Monastery with a holy resistance potion active this time, and I fought my way up, dispensing with devotees and nuns as I went. I soon entered this lovely church.
Alright, shepherd, let's go.
The shepherd began shooting balls of light, destroying his own pews.
Oh gosh. How do I deal with that?
But all his holy radiance wasn't enough, and this was a fairly easy fight. I picked up Veil of Blood because it made my dash heal a little more and apply Leech, and I tracked down Jade the Vampire Hunter for round 3. The sun rose mid-fight, and I had a bit of a stinker as I tried to stick to the shadows.
Dance for me.
Dude, I ran into a tree.
I went in for round 4 once Night 71 rolled around, and it went better, though I did get caught out by her purple blasts again. But finally, Jade was defeated.
Oh, I can make pistols now finally. Okay, good.
Alfred returned and brought me a decent chunk of sulfur ore. I sent him back out to loot the Forgotten Cemetery. Defeating the Shepherd had unlocked the jewel crafting table, so I built one of those out of 8 Scourge Stone and 4 Greater Blood Essence. It was capable of crafting tier 2 jewels for my spells. I made one for the spell Void, and I think I got a pretty good roll. And I finally crafted some merciless iron pistols, my second level 18 weapon. The pistols seem to have a pretty fun moveset. I was of course continually stealing my prisoners' blood and shoving fish in their faces, and I'd completely run out of both cotton yarn and iron ingots, so it was time for a resource collection spree. I chugged a garlic resistance potion and got down to business. And somehow, at the very first cotton farm I went to, I found a 100% blood quality worker, who I of course imprisoned. I also found a cloak.
It's the same as the one I've got, but it looks way cooler because it's red. Hell yeah.
I claimed a 100% worker blood potion, and the reason this was so timely is because it increased resource yield by over 30% and increased resource collection speed too. I bounced from cotton farm to cotton farm to cotton farm. I made sure to check in the houses too because they always seem to have a decent stack of cotton. I eventually returned home with over 2,000 cotton, enough for almost 200 yarn. My next destination was the mysterious iron cave marked on my map, just north of my base. I had to break into it with bear form, and once in I was expecting a relaxing iron ore collection session, but somehow this happened.
I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead.
Yes, I managed to enrage a small army of rock and iron monsters. When I returned, I was more careful and managed to take on the rock elementals and iron golems one by one. This was a great opportunity to play around with my new pistols. As you may have noticed, I'd favored the bow the whole playthrough, but the pistols were winning me over despite their shorter range. I liked that they had a roll ability that was good for evasive maneuvers. This cave had massive resource nodes that could only be collected by bear form. This one at the back was particularly enormous. I spent all of Night 74 in here. In fact, my worker blood sadly ran out before I managed to clear the place. I eventually emerged with almost 5,000 iron ore. And with that, my cotton yarn and iron ingot shortage was dealt with for the time being. I used some of that iron to make an advanced blood press. And look at this thing. It definitely presses that blood in an advanced fashion.
So now I can make primal blood essence.
This thing also did all the stuff the old blood press did, just way faster. My Hallowwood oil was ready, so I got more thick leather crafting, and I used some to make Crimson Templar gloves, the recipe for which I'd recently gotten from a book. Gear score up to 56. I headed east to track down my next target, and on the way I found another carriage. The last time I tried to steal from one of these, the chest had despawned while I wasn't looking, so I was excited. And it was a pretty good haul, including a shattered ancestral mace. But it did make me rage a little.
Iron pistols again? Give me a break, man. Bloodhunter boots. Oh, and the boots I've already got as well. What the hell, dude? Stop giving me the same thing.
I stopped off at this abandoned farm.
Kind of weird, you know. Oh.
Turns out this scarecrow has some serious sass. He dropped me a Scourge Stone though, so I'll forgive him. I soon wandered into the ruins of Mortium to take on the next boss, General Cassius the Betrayer. He summoned a blade called Nightfall Edge, and while it was active, he was invulnerable. And once the blade was dead, you're supposed to throw it at Cassius, but it took me a while to catch on. Once I finally figured it out, he was stunned for ages, allowing me to get off big damage. But these two hands of Dracula joined the fight somehow, and they whipped out big stuns on me. And I'd been switching in between the bow and pistol during the fight, and this ended up being my downfall. I thought I had my bow out, so I hit Q to shoot off a quick multi-shot, but I was holding my pistols, so I stood there and channeled a spray of bullets, and got flattened in the process. At least, that's my excuse. Next time, I was quicker to the punch with the sword throw. I got some big damage off, I copped a charge to the face, and the old boy started levitating for a bit, which I thought was rather impressive. The blade returned for another round, and once I used it to stun him again, he was finished.
I got an exquisite heart from him.
And with that, I'd killed all of the bosses in Act 2, except for the final final boss, Octavian. I galloped home where I began turning some of the greater blood essence I'd stockpiled into pristine blood essence. 6 greater made 1 pristine. My little garden had no more room for flower seeds to be planted, so I decided it was time for a proper farm out front. I used this nocturne fencing around the perimeter, and the plan was to eventually fill this whole area with flowers. For now though, I figured I better get my throne off the front lawn. I put it up here, and I turned this area at the top of the stairs into a proper room. I then did some decorating. I redid the floors, and I slapped down some gargoyles.
It's a random spot for a throne at the top of the stairs. At least it looks cool.
I used one of the pristine blood essences to build a Stygian summoning circle, which I'd unlocked after killing Cassius.
So I can use Stygian shards to get a bunch of seeds, to get a bunch of gems, to get a bunch of study books.
I still had 338 left over, and this thing promised to give me 3 study books, so I gave it a whirl. And so, a blood harpy was summoned.
This could be ingenious or very, very stupid.
The harpy was level 60, but wasn't too hard to defeat. And the loot it dropped was as promised. Books for 2 Crimson Templar armor pieces, and a garlic potion. A bunch of scrolls and paper too. I then snuck into the market town again, as I'd saved up 72 silver coins. I bought the Dusk Watcher Boots book.
Hey, it's been like 24 hours since I last played it. We got some stuff. Yes, Krusty succeeded. Oh, he got me a book. Alfred's got me a bunch of bones. Oh, Harold died. Bruce, on the other hand, succeeded, getting some oil.
I crafted some of those Dusk Watcher boots.
All right, now we got the 2-set Dusk Watcher. It gives 7% move speed.
I sent Krusty to another cotton farm. I couldn't send Alfred out for a couple hours because he got injured, apparently. And while I waited for Harold to resurrect, I decided to try and improve Bruce and Harold's hunt proficiency. I made them level 18 weapons, a bunch of level 5 armor, and this was rather expensive, but it was worth it. Because suddenly, their hunt proficiency jumped from around 400 to 500. This meant they now easily had 100% success chance pretty much anywhere in Dunley farmlands. So I sent Bruce to another cotton farm and Harold to Dawnbreak Village, mainly for the wool thread, because I'd nearly run out when crafting all that level 5 gear. I headed out and fished, found a 96% rogue. I swear I only find high quality rogue blood for some reason. And I headed into the militia stronghold where Octavian the militia captain held office. I looted and fought my way up, and then waited around for nighttime. And I was actually 1 gear level higher than Octavian, so that was nice. I was also well on the way to adopting the pistols as my main weapon, though I was still getting a feel for it. He lunged with his massive sword and shot forth a few spinny winnies, and he did this big slap.
Oh, dude. That's some spinny winnies, man. Where'd he go? What are you doing over there, bro? Is he stuck? He's being a silly sausage. Ow. Oh, dude, I'm fumbling the bag big time. No, jump, dude. Dude, what did I do? I wasn't even looking at the right part of the screen. That's just a disgrace. All right, let's try again and not be an idiot this time. Ow, dude. Oh, for goodness sake. No.
So I'd gone from almost easily beating him the first time to completely losing my composure. Round 3 was okay, until at the end when I of course did my best to throw the fight. But don't worry friends, in truly spectacular fashion and many a missed bullet, the final boss of Act 2 was finally defeated.
Got spicy there for a second, but it's alright, we take those. Ancestral sword shards. And with that, I actually get an ancestral forge so I can start restoring ancient shattered weapons, but I can't get radium alloy yet, so it's a little bit premature, but anyway, that's not bad.
And I got an extremely juicy Storm ultimate. Not only did it do big damage, it made me invulnerable for the entire duration.
That ulti's nuts, bro. It just one-hit them all.
I decided to put my 2 other storm spells back on my action bars, so that I could be a truly zappy master of lightning. And so my transformation into an electric pistol man began. Defeating Octavian had unlocked weapon storage, armor storage, and jewel storage. And these had a juicy 41 slots, so this was great news. I planted some more bushes and set my sights on Act 3.
Ziva the Engineer, north, very, very far away. I'm gonna guess in Gloomrot. Or the Cursed Forest. Yeah, it must be in Gloomrot.
I added some more plots, grabbed my new 92% rogue and began crafting some gear for him, and put him in a coffin to be converted into my minion. I went all out for this new guy. I even made him a level 18 pendant. And after a few chores around the castle, I rode north towards Ziva the Engineer. Because when I defeated her, I would unlock radium alloy, and a whole new tier of crafting would begin opening up to me. And again, I don't know what it is with rogues, but I found a second 100% blood quality rogue. Are there any other nerds out there that want to give me some decent blood, please?
Moving into new territory now, baby. The Gloomrot. Gloomrot land.
These little gremlin idiots were so many levels higher than me, it just presented a skull. And I'm pretty sure a dragon was shooting purple fire at me from above.
Bro, stop dropping big bombs on me, man. It's rude. Dude, there actually is a dragon above me. There's a shadow of the dragon. What the hell's going on, man? There's Lord Styx, the Knight Champion. There's no way that's who I'm supposed to kill.
I decided this Forsaken crater was not for me. I rode back down the hill and chose a different path into Gloomrot.
This looks less ridiculous than where I was before. Yeah, this has got the steampunk vibes.
Steampunk, irradiated goop, unhinged vibes. Yes, indeed. I used my ultimate on this first pack of Gloomrot enemies, so it's kind of hard to see. But look at this pyro, throwing flames like a maniac. Also, this guy.
Look at him. He's shooting beams of... Look at that, that's so sick.
I began finding tech scrap, a very important resource, and...
Oh my lord.
It looks like all of the irradiated pollution has consequences in the form of some mutant weirdos. They dropped another new resource, mutant grease.
Why did he have to just burst forth out of the muck? That was disgusting. Oh dude, the pyro's going nuts. He's popping off.
I had a lot of fun taking on the enemies of this area, and what do you know, an 82% rogue for me to send to prison. Rogues for days, mate.
Yeah, it looks like the big trees here have gloomwood.
I fought my way forward, taking on these technologically gifted individuals and these mutant-y individuals, and I soon found myself in the Tracendom machine factory. There was a dude with a massive spider drill contraption.
Stop trying to drill me, big fella.
I headed inside, where I took on a bloke who placed down a sentry turret that shot laser beams.
Alright, here's Ziva the engineer. Let's drink some rogue blood. And,
A new target, dummy. Wow!
Ziva had many toys, including the big zappy gun that shot orbs of electricity, the flamethrower that painted a most excellent fiery donut on the floor, the minigun,
no rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat, you lunatic.
the jetpack plus dropping grenades everywhere combo, and she summoned some sentries too. I played it safe, keeping my distance from her many gadgets, and my ulti came off cooldown, allowing me to whip out big damage. She wore me down, but successful dash attack heals plus these health orbs helped keep me in the fight. And as you can see, I reverted back to using my bow as I felt like I needed the extra range. My ulti came off cooldown again, so the fight lasted over 4 minutes, and finally, I was victorious.
Woo! Gotcha, big girl. That was so sick, dude.
This unlocked the Fabricator and the spell Discharge. I wanted as much tech scrap as possible to use crafting the next tier of materials, so I hung around the factory killing enemies and barrels and crates for much of night 84. And what do you know, yet another high quality blood rogue, and so another railgunner was imprisoned. I next went to the Tracendom mine, where I continued to methodically fight and loot. It helped that combat in this game is actively fun, so I was just gaming. RIP to those horses though, sorry about that. The downside was my bags had filled up ages ago, so I was suffering a bit of a headache trying to choose what I actually wanted to keep. Inside the mine, there was an outrageous amount of both copper and sulfur ore, including several of these enormous nodes. But I soon realized I was in the wrong place. The V-blood carrier I was after wasn't even here. Turns out she was in Rustlock Village.
There she is.
I cleared out some of the riffraff and got down to business. Demeanor the Blade Dancer was a very cool looking boss, but I was popping off with big damage and she was a bit of a wet noodle. And then she started levitating.
What the hell? What are you doing?
I think the levitating charged her up because she whipped out lots of Sparky moves, including a Sparky charge and a Sparky whip. This was a much easier fight than Ziva, as I somehow barely took any damage, and Demeanor was laid low.
The beast.
I'm used to being on top.
Alright, settle down. Alright, that gets me the advanced grinder and the castle teleporter.
I continued looting the village, and some of these houses had multiple cupboards and chests to loot, which was delicious.
What is all this? Ugh. What are you farming, you weirdos?
I figured while the going was good, I might as well chase after another nearby boss, and so I entered the putrid pools of rebirth. The sun arrived at the same time as me, so I whiled the daylight hours away sticking to the shade of these dodgy tents. And this place was serving me up plenty of mutant grease, another key resource for the next tier of crafting. As night 86 dawned, I took on Angram the Purifier, and this big mech was once again a very cool boss. I was certainly a big fan of Gloomrot South. He whipped out a big chaos shield on his back, so I did my best to shoot his front, except he was peppering me with chaos rocks and covering the ground in purple fire, so it was a little wild. He later switched it up and shielded his front.
Oh, what the... Where'd that come from? Oh no.
So that was a little dicey, and his attacks started coming out quicker and quicker, so it was tricky to find opportunities to deal damage, but eventually I was able to finish off the big hunk of metal. He dropped my first flawless gem, a topaz, and...
Dawnthorn Regalia. Sounds good. Mutated rat. Delicious. Major explosive box, and irradiant gruel.
With extremely full bags and 3 successful V-Blood hunts under my belt, I galloped back to my castle. I researched the books I'd found, and did a couple of scroll and paper researches too. I knocked over some chores, and one of those unlocks was prison wallpaper, so I changed over my prison walls. I grabbed this 84% railgunner and shoved him in a servant coffin, and I woke my 5th servant, Skinny Pete.
Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. 597 hunt proficiency. Let's go, Skinny Pete.
I sent Skinny Pete with Alfred to the Tracendom machine factory. Since Pete is a rogue, the difficulty was reduced by 100, meaning he had a 100% chance to bring back a good chunk of tech scrap, and even a few radium alloys. Alfred, on the other hand, was guaranteed to fail and die, so I have no idea why I sent him along, but the game is the game, I guess. I placed down some advanced grinders, which are way faster than the old ones and can also craft spectral dust, the recipe for which I hadn't unlocked yet. The red castle teleporters cost 4 greater blood essence each, so I tested them out. Very cool. I checked to see if I could place this anywhere on the map, but that was too much to hope for. These are specifically to help with getting around your castle. And one issue I'd had with my castle is that it was a bit of a pain to get around from room to room to use all the various machines. So I was very pleased that these teleporters would take away a lot of that hassle. I made a fabricator out of tech scrap and iron ingots.
Fabricator wants to be in a forge. Sludge-filled canisters. EMPs, power cores, copper coins, silver coins, and gold sun coins.
The fabricator did indeed belong in the forge, but I didn't have room, so that was a conundrum.
Radium alloy now, out of tech scrap, sulfur,
and sludge-filled canisters. I'd actually found 3 of those at the Pools of Rebirth, so I was able to queue up my first 12 radium alloys to craft. I'd collected a stack of 250 gloomwood, so I chucked that in a sawmill, and it was going to be refined into planks with mutant grease as a byproduct. The Dawnthorn set I'd unlocked was level 7, but I needed pristine leather, silk, and spectral dust to tailor it, so that was a way off yet. I tweaked my teleporter positions slightly, I planted some more flowers, and
irradiant gruel increases the blood quality of the prisoner by 1 to 2%, but it has a 35% chance to turn the prisoner into a raging mutant.
So if I found a 98 or 99% blood quality human, I might just have to experiment on them with some gruel.
So I made enough radium alloy just with what I brought back. Upgrade. Boom. Castle Heart level 4. I can get 1 more servant coffin.
This unlocked Dominate Mount, so I dominated my mount.
Let's name him
Steedly. And now I could summon Steedly to my location. Very handy. And the horse now had a leap. I also made Steedly a saddle, which improved his stats slightly. By the way, I think Steedly had an absolutely garbage acceleration stat, but I guess I couldn't be bothered trying to find a better horse. I made a 7th servant coffin and chucked that other 84% railgunner in there. And I had a crafting spree, making equipment for my soon-to-be converted minions. Part of this process was crafting a bunch more whetstones and grinding bones into grave dust so I could make more scourge stones with which to make some decent pendants.
Ziggy. I think his name would be Ziggy.
Ziggy had 591 hunt proficiency immediately, but sadly that wasn't enough to guarantee success in Gloomrot, so I sent him to get more bones, grave dust, and scourge stones at the Church of the Damned.
The place I went to with the dragon flying over is the site of Dracula's defeat at the hands of the Church of Luminance.
I'm pretty sure Dracula is the final boss of this game, so I'm not sure how that works. Anyway, I needed more forge space so I could fit my new fabricator, and I had space right above the existing forge and workshop, so I figured that was the best option. I split the area, part forge, part workshop, and used one of these giant doorways to keep it feeling relatively open, and I moved all the forge refining machines upstairs. I began fabricating sludge-filled canisters using glass, iron ingots, and mutant grease. I made a second fabricator and put that to work too.
Krusty's back. Hey, Krusty! Got a bunch of cotton.
As mentioned, these nerds headed out on 23 real-time hours of hunting. So as you may be able to deduce, I was recording my gameplay across multiple days, which allowed time for the minions to do their good work. Krusty brought me a decent haul of wool thread, which I immediately used to begin crafting him some better armor. And with some sludge-filled canisters ready, I was able to continue crafting radium alloy. I also continued crafting better gear for my minions, because I was now low on glass, sulfur, bones, and grave dust. I was getting low on iron and copper again, and I now needed a bunch of tech scraps and mutant grease as well. So I concluded having beefy minions was going to be my best shot at keeping me stocked up. Otherwise, I'd have to do some serious grinding. I welcomed Zipper to the party, and Bruce and Harold returned from their hunts, so they got some upgrades too. I sent a couple of them to get a bunch of mutant grease, and 2 others to get a ton of quartz and glass. Finally, my minions were in decent shape. I really needed a wider variety of minion blood types though, since different blood types are better at different hunt conditions. I had too many rogues. Anyway, I also used some radium alloy to place my yellow teleporters. was a little upstairs, downstairs action. I wandered into the merchant village and bought a couple of books, which helped me get a new pair of pants.
Yeah, give me the Dusk Watcher leggings. That's an upgrade.
And I finally bothered to look at what gear level actually does.
Your gear level compared to the unit level of the enemy affects the damage you deal and receive.
The Dusk Watcher 3-set bonus gave me +1 gear score, so I was now sitting at 61. I decided to rip down the wall in here and made it one big forge instead, and I thought these hanging lanterns were a nice touch. And it was about time I ventured forth once more. The next set of bosses were all very far northeast of me, so I figured I was destined for the Cursed Forest. On my way, I visited Gracefall Village, a place where disgraced Dunley Farmlands villagers were exiled to. I was delighted to see this worker had 89% quality blood, so I of course imprisoned him. And when night fell, I suddenly understood the exact nature of these people's fall from grace.
Well, where'd you come from? There's a oh, they turned into werewolves.
This werewolf ripped my face off, and it was not a good time. I returned and attempted to take the fight with slightly more skill, which I think I pulled off, and this werewolf dropped my first 120 pristine hide. I killed a few more before continuing my journey.
Okay, we're into the Cursed Forest proper now. Seems very cursed.
I killed a cursed bear for science. It dropped 50 pristine hide, and I encountered a big spider too. Meanwhile, it appeared to be getting rather foggy.
Oh, here we go. Silkworm. Bro, the whole map is fog. Look at my mini-map, it's just fog. It's outrageous.
I didn't realize it at the time, but this fogginess was because I had 100 stacks of Curse of the Forest. I discovered these big trees yielded cursed wood, the fog lifted for some reason, and I followed the V-Blood tracker into this spider-infested area. I destroyed all of these spiderweb egg-looking cocoon thingos, because they often let loose a bunch of silkworms, and I knew I needed lots of those to make silk. And I soon wandered into this cave. Lots of little spiders, some bigger spiders, a brood mother looking kinda gross to be honest, and some of the spiders exploded into green goop.
Oh, I got some actual silk.
A rusted helmet?
It looks terrible. Get rid of it.
Soon I spotted a big honkin' spider, Angora the Spider Queen. A random villager emerged from one of the silk cocoons, and he immediately ran over to be obliterated by the big mama. Iconic stuff. Angora did exactly as I was expecting. She let out a big blast that popped a bunch of the silky eggs, out of which came many a spiderling. She spat venom everywhere, and when she was done with that, she spat even more venom everywhere.
This is crazy. I don't even know what's going on, bro. Ow, ow, ow. Oh dear.
And I haven't shown you much unedited combat, so let's just watch the rest of the fight.
I can't move. Ah! What? Okay. That was absolutely ridiculous.
This victory unlocked Spider Form, which can burrow to hide from enemies or the sun. I also unlocked Army of the Dead, the second unholy ultimate. It was terrible compared to the Storm ulti I'd grown to love. I would have hung around in the Cursed Forest to take on more V-Blood carriers, but my gun was nearly broken, so I figured I'd better run home to repair. I came upon a carriage, so I took it on, but then Bane and his goons came out of nowhere, so I took them on. And by the time the fighting died down, it was daytime and I couldn't loot the chest without suffering severe sunburn, so I got frustrated and left. I suspect I may have left some decent loot behind, but whatever. I began crafting silk out of cloth and silkworm. The only reason I had this much cloth was because of my minions. 3 cheers for minions. And I discovered milling cursed wood yielded some funky mushrooms as a byproduct.
I got my werewolf in here, dude. Oh, that's how you get an 89% creature and you can tap creature blood. During the day, he's a worker. That's pretty sick. I was wondering about that.
I repaired my gun, and I was getting low on gem dust, so I put all my crude gems into a grinder, and I figured I might as well repair all my armor too. I did not repair my pendant though, because I had literally 0 glass left. I then teleported back to the Cursed Forest.
Witch. What level are you, dude? You're just a skull? I don't think I want to take on a witch.
Except because I was now hopelessly lost in the fog, 2 seconds after killing this bear, I wandered straight back into the witch's lair. I found ghost shrooms though, so why not?
Oh, there she is. Ah! Run! Run! Maybe I can take on the witch. Oh, maybe not. That did 150 damage.
When I was trying to have a leisurely fish, about 300 wolves came out of nowhere.
Dude, what is that? Oh my lord, what is going on? What is going on?
I somehow survived the menagerie with some choice evasive maneuvers, and I was free to fish in peace.
I just got the fish. Salvageable. What does that mean?
I then got chased by about 900 wolves again. At least I was getting lots of pristine hide.
Hold to release wisp. Blocks out Curse of the Forest and increases movement speed. Oh, something useful. Nice.
These night lurkers hounded me, and it felt like there was a new monster emerging from the fog every 5 steps.
I'm a leaf on the wind.
Who said I'm a leaf on the wind? He went, I'm a leaf on the wind, and then he ran away. Here he is.
Come, have a look.
Where you going, bro? Do I just have to chase this idiot around? Oh, there's mosquitoes? Ah!
I found a wisp to help me in my pursuit.
Get him. Get him. Come here.
And Obi-Wan Kenobi led me on a merry old chase.
Oh, what the hell are they? It's big old toads, man. No, come back, Benjamin. I'm gonna get you, bro. Gotcha. You can't run from me.
That unlocked pristine leather and the Shroud of the Forest, which makes the wearer immune to the curse of the forest. It would have been wise to head straight home and make myself one of those shrouds, but I instead stumbled through the fog in search of the next V-Blood carrier on my list. I found this cursed village where I began collecting ghost crystals and killing many a spectral foe.
Wow, dude.
I looted up a storm, and this ghost guardian kept on whipping up big shields and refusing to die, so that was rude.
Tier 3 Aftershock Jewel. Knockback. Cooldown reduction, snare.
And so I switched out my spells for a bit to see how that improvement to Aftershock felt. I eventually ran into Cyril the Cursed Smith, and this was not the V-Blood carrier I was tracking, but I figured I might as well have a crack anyway. With my vision limited by the fog, it wasn't easy. When this big fat spectral spear impaled me out of nowhere, I said,
oh gosh. Oh no. Holy crap. Dude, I can't fight this guy without full vision. I don't even know where I am. How do I get out of here?
Luckily, I soon found a wisp, so I immediately restored my vision to put a pin on the map and leg it. As you can see, I'd managed to wander to the far east of the cursed forest, so I ran home through the ruins of Mortium.
Oh, hello. Level 30 weapons. 2,000 greater Stygian shards.
On my way, I found this 84% warrior, so I snaffled him up, and back at base I got busy with chores, accepting goodies from my returned minions, hanging out with my prisoners, and crafting, teeing up a bunch of pristine leather to be made out of pristine hide and mutant grease. My minions really did have an absolute bounty of stuff for me. I'd estimate all they'd returned with amounted to at least an hour of grinding if I'd had to collect it myself, probably much longer than that. Alfred had of course died, so I resurrected him. I salvaged the fish.
It gives 20 jewelry, 50 oil, and 200 silver coins. Holy crap.
I guess that's why they call it the fish. Gold jewelry was a new one.
It's useless until I can get an advanced furnace, and then I can get gold out of it, I guess.
I kept stuff refining. Radium alloys, glass, scourge stones, sludge-filled canisters, and I made blood potions out of blood roses, because I needed a better way to regenerate to max health between fights. And once Alfred had resurrected, I stole all his gear and terminated him. He had low blood quality and therefore weaker minion stats, so I replaced him with the 89% worker I'd found.
So he'll be really effective against settlements.
I used some of the pristine leather and silk I managed to make to craft the level 7 Dawnthorn chest guard and leggings, and I crafted some other upgrades for my soon-to-be converted minion. I sent the minions who weren't injured out to do their thing, obviously emphasizing collecting whatever I was low on. Iron ore was on the list this time. My new armor pushed my gear score to 62 and my health to 560, and crucially I crafted a Shroud of the Forest. I snuck into town and spent the 200 silver coins I gotten from the fish, and the best thing I unlocked were these duck's carpets, which I placed in this area at the top of the stairs. I then considered heading back out to the cursed forest, but I wanted to wait for my new minion to be converted, so I could send him out on mission immediately. Thus, I killed some time working on castle design. As you can see, I redid this fence because I liked this one better, but I'd somehow run out of plant fiber of all things, so I hit a bit of a roadblock. I cleared a bit back here too, and began considering how I'd go about expanding my castle into the rest of my territory, because I still had heaps of space. I made a little bit of progress.
Rise, servant.
Alright, Albert again.
My bidding.
Oh, hang on. I forgot to get you your gear, little fella. 616 hunt proficiency. Let's go. That's huge.
I sent him to sneak into the cursed village to collect a bunch of ghost crystals and grave dust. I then tried to collect all the plant fiber in the known universe. While out there, I imprisoned this brute. He only had 52% blood quality, but I was desperate for a brute to help with minion hunt bonuses, so I figured he'd do for now. Once I'd collected a few thousand plant fiber, I returned to lay some turf. I decided I didn't want this area to have the darker grass anymore, so I tore everything down and replaced it. I also disliked how the grass ended at a corner next to the waygate, so I decided to fence it in so it looked more logical. I toyed with the gravel paths for a bit, but ended up getting rid of most of it. I just found it too finicky, and I continued laying the groundwork for my castle's expansion.
I think that's what this will be. It's like a long hallway with a bunch of rooms. Yeah, if this keeps going down, long hallway, bunch of rooms off on this side, and then it's like a whole new area of the castle over here. Bunch of outdoor space. This has got to go somewhere, and this is a summoning circle, so I think this can have its own, it's like fenced off space like over there somewhere.
That was decent progress, but I figured I should end the first 100 days with more boss fighting. So on night 99, after replanting some flowers, I headed back to the cursed forest. And look how beautiful my Shroud of the Forest is. I headed into the ancient village, and it was nice to actually be able to see what the hell was going on. My first target was Falrot the Soul Taker, and Falrot is one weird looking weirdo. He disappeared and came out of invisibility to fear me. He put a shield on himself and summoned a bunch of banshees, and beyond that he just stood around while I shot him repeatedly. It was a pretty easy fight.
So now I can make spectral dust and can summon banshees. Cool.
Hunting my next target took me into mosquito and toad territory, and honestly these toads were way harder than the boss I'd just killed, especially when they double jumped on my head while both of my evasive skills were on cooldown. Also, I did not like it when they grabbed me with their big tongues.
Dude, the toads got the hardest moveset in the game.
The mosquitoes were a challenge for a different reason. They moved around sporadically and it was hard to shoot them.
Oh, there's the big boy, Albert. How you going, Albert? You got a big stinky tongue, bro.
He did indeed have a rather terrifying tongue. By this point, I'd taken to using my Storm ultimate defensively, not purely offensively. For example, to dodge the toad's lunge here. He summoned some toad friends, he jumped on my head.
Ow, dude. What the hell?
And he shot green crap absolutely everywhere. All of the chaos certainly slowed down the speed at which I was able to deal damage, but I was also able to mostly avoid taking damage myself, so the fight proceeded pretty smoothly.
These toads are disgusting, dude. They're activating my ick. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Gotcha.
The Swamp of Greed was clearly named after Albert and his love for money, because look at the riches he'd amassed.
It's Smaug. It's like a dragon toad.
And my reward for this victory...
Boing. 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 Maybe I can jump up to those caves down here. You know those random caves that I can never get to?
My next target was back down south, and I soon realized he was in Gracefall Village, the village with all the werewolves. I'd obviously missed him earlier, but here he is hanging out at the back. The big werewolf tried to charge at me and bite my face off. He also disappeared for a bit and attempted to charge at me again.
What the hell? No, don't eat the nerds.
These silly humans were running around like prime gooses on the loose, so I struggled to kill them, and the big buffhead ate like 4 of them, healing himself up a bunch. This made the fight drag on long enough for the sun to rise.
Is he human again? What? What? Aww.
And so I hung around until night 101 arrived, at which point he still hadn't respawned.
Respawn. Respawn.
I waited a couple more minutes and soon he was ready for round 2. This was obviously much the same as before, but this time I saved my ultimate hoping I'd kill some of the hapless villagers with it. But that did not really work, so the big fella was able to eat some delicious snacks to heal up. Ultimately, that only delayed the inevitable, and soon Wilfred the werewolf chief was laid low.
Pristine leather bag. Nice. Cyril the Cursed Smith. Is that the guy I started fighting accidentally in one of the towns? I think it is.
And so ends 100 nights of V Rising, with a cheeky bonus half a night there at the end. I still have to kill the final boss of Act 3 and 17 bosses in Act 4, including Dracula, the true final boss. So clearly I still have heaps to do, and honestly I just love this game, so I'm definitely going to be recording it. Just let me know if you want to see it made into a 200+ days video. Cheers!